The 64 set. Only 4 will survive to make the trip to New Orleans. To reach it, they must get past the top seeds. In the West, Derry Tarkanians, Runnin' Rebels. Just 1 loss this year, and most of it, they've been ranked the nation's best. The East top seed, North Carolina. Dean Smith's Tar Heels lost in the ACC tournament final, just their 3rd this year. They open in their home state. Likewise for Bobby Knight's Indiana Hoosiers. They were beaten only 3 times in the tough Big Ten. They're expected to rock the Hoosier Dome. The Southeast is headed up by John Thompson and the Georgetown Hoyas. The Big East tournament champions have won 11 straight. It's up next.
ESPN presents NCAA Tournament Today. Live first-round action from the NCAA basketball tournament.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the NCAA Tournament Today. And what a day we have for you here on our first day of coverage of this tournament. We'll start it out at noon in just a while. Xavier, the number 13 seed in the Midwest, going up against Missouri, the number 4 seed. That one is coming up next, and we'll follow that up with 4 more live games at 2:30. Middle Tennessee State against Notre Dame. That follows at 4:30 as we move to the West with Idaho State going up against the Runnin' Rebels of Nevada, Las Vegas. At 7 o'clock, Bob Lee will step in here, and we'll have more. Michigan against Navy, that one at 7 from the East. And also from the East, North Carolina, the number 1 seed, going against the Quakers of Penn. They are the last seed in the East Regional. What a day we have for you here. As usual, we are joined by Dick Vitale. Dick Vitale comes in to join us as we kick it all off here, and this is a dream come true. This is what the whole season's all about.
John, a smorgasbord of basketball right now. ESPN, Hoop Hysteria will be running wild, and certainly a time that I get excited about because it's a great time of the year. I think some things out there the fans can really watch and observe. The shot clock, number 1, now combined with a 3-point shot, certainly can change the complexion of a game. I definitely feel the rules favor the better talent.
Okay, we'll have more comments from you because I know you don't have much opinions coming up. Xavier in Missouri, it's coming up next from the Midwest Regional, the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis. Stay with us.
Playing Ripkins, Cal Sr., Jr., and Bill. Hi, I'm Chris Fowler. We'll talk about the Ripkins baseball beginnings on this week's ESPN Scholastic Sports America Saturday.
ESPN presents NCAA Tournament Today, Missouri versus Xavier. Brought to you by Budweiser, the genuine article. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By BMW, the ultimate driving machine. To arrange a thorough test drive, simply phone your nearest BMW dealer. And by the financial professionals at Payne Weber Incorporated. From the Midwest Regional at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're about to go there in just a moment. Xavier will go against Missouri. Dick Vitale with us now. And Dick, when you talk about Missouri in this game, you can talk about the Band-Aid man, Derek Chivas.
I love Derek Chivas. I really believe right now he rates ahead of Reggie Miller from UCLA on my chart, looking at the great small forwards. Number 1, I would have Reggie Williams from over Georgetown. But number 2, I moved Miller down because of a lack of defensive effort, and I've moved Chivas up. The Band-Aid man came from New York City, went to Missouri, and has just been a dynamite scorer and just done a great job. But I'll tell you one thing about the Missouri team. They're playing in one of the toughest conferences in America. What used to be a football conference, John, has now become an outstanding conference to where I rate them as one of the top 5 conferences behind the Big East, the ACC, and certainly the SEC, with the Big Ten being number 1.
Of course, Missouri as well, a team that has no seniors. They are a young team. And Derek Chivas, a budding Dick Vitale, they tell us as well. As we move to Xavier, they have a kid by the name of Byron Larkin, who might be somebody most people don't know that much about.
Larkin comes from a family that's rich in athletic tradition. His brother looks like he'll be the starting shortstop for Pete Rose and his Cincinnati Reds. He's an outstanding athlete, came out of Michigan. His other brother was a linebacker at Notre Dame and was drafted in the NFL. So this family knows a little bit about winning. a great scorer. He is one of the leading scorers in America that will be returning next year from the junior class. But the key to Peter Gillen's team, and Gillen did a great job at Notre Dame as an assistant, and a lot of people are going to be after Gillen. It's going to be tough for them to keep him in Xavier. He's an outstanding leader. But the real asset to that club was when Kimbrough start playing great basketball. You watch the backcourt of Kimbrough and Larkin. They can rate with the best around. And Xavier has an outstanding scoring team. But I think Missouri might have a little too much. The edge, don't tell the people in Cincinnati, but I got to give it to Missouri because of their size and because of playing in a tough Big 8.
A lot of people are saying Missouri is a team that could possibly slip into the Final Four. Xavier can do it with their quickness right now. Well, we can talk more about that in just a moment. Xavier against Missouri. It is coming your way from the Midwest Regional, from the Hoosiers Home in Indianapolis. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The Midwest Regional, the first game coming your way in just a moment. Before we went to break, Dick Vitale took exception with what I said about Missouri, a possible team to slip into the Final Four. You do say there is a team in there that could pull off some upsets, though.
Well, I think Georgia Tech definitely can pull an upset. I think it's the weakest region. I think the Midwest definitely ranks as the weakest with the Southeast as the best.
Okay, we want to go to the Hoosier Dome right now. It is the Midwest Regional. Let's go to Tom Hammond and Jim Gibbons.
Here are the officials for this afternoon's game. John Clockerty on the left is the referee, joined by John Bonder and Dave Baird. First college game ever played in the Hoosier Dome. And a temporary floor, which has that familiar parquet pattern that we're used to seeing when the Boston Celtics play. Here are the starting lineups again. For Xavier, Campbell, Taylor, Hill, Larkin averaging almost 25 a game, and Kimbrough. And for Missouri, Chivas, who hits for nearly 25, Sandbode, Leonard, Coward, and Hardy. As the higher-seeded team, Missouri wears the home white uniforms. Missouri seeded 4th, and Xavier seeded 13th. First meeting between Missouri and Xavier from the Hoosier Dome as we tip off the NCAA tournament. Batted around, and finally, Larkin saves it. He was on the line. It'll go to Missouri. And looks like the Musketeers. Here's Chivas, Derek Chivas, at 6'7", plays either guard or forward. He's the high scorer on this Missouri team. Looks like Xavier man-to-man. Shot by Chivas is good. The first two of the game. Derek Chivas of Missouri. Mizzou with a 2-0 lead in the opening minute from the Hoosier Dome. Kimbrough with a 14-footer, no good. Hill rebounds, his follow no good. Hill got it again and is knocked to the floor. First foul of the game called on Missouri, and Jim, we saw Xavier hitting the offensive boards there. We said that would be a concern for them.
The thing is, they have such a disadvantage height-wise underneath, and that was great second and third effort by Tyrone Hill.
You had a look at the trademark Band-Aid over the eye of Derek Chivas, who picks up the first foul of the game.
Called it before the shot, so it's out of bounds.
Taylor's shot is good, and Xavier is on the board. Missouri quickly down court. Sandbode to the basket. Not there, but the follow is good by Leonard.
See, anytime a team presses, Tom, when you press full court, you weigh the turnovers against the easy baskets you might give up, and that time Missouri had the 2-on-1 advantage.
And the Tigers up 4-2. We played just over a minute. Opening round game in the NCAA tournament.
You're looking at that tight, aggressive man-to-man defense by Missouri, and they are noted for it.
Coach Norm Stewart said their defense has been ahead of their offense all season. Larkin is triple-teamed and walks.
They have been extremely consistent defensively, and as you said, that's what kept them in until the offense caught up.
Chivas has it knocked away, but it's saved by Leonard, and Missouri sets it up on the half court with a 4-2 lead. Inside to Hardy. Dished off to Leonard. No good. Rebounded by Xavier. It's on the court and picked up by Larkin. Byron Larkin in a hurry from 14. No good. Rebound right back to Larkin. And Xavier sets it up.
Boy, right now, the tempo of the game in every way is in Xavier's favor. I know it's early, but they're doing a lot of things well defensively and off of the offensive board.
Trying to post up inside was Campbell, and the pass overshot the mark, and Xavier turns it over. Here's Missouri against that full court pressure. Just half-hearted pressure now as Xavier drops back.
Little containment just to control the tempo of the game.
Hardy straight away. Sandbody. Coward and to Leonard. Missouri working its half-court offense. Chivas gets it inside to Leonard. Shot by Coward, no good. Good position by Campbell on the defensive board, and Xavier on the outlet pass to Larkin. Knocked away and stolen by Hardy. Hardy takes it coast to coast for his first two.
Not bad. I thought he was going to take the ball off the floor, Tom, and get the defensive player moving back and forth, but he had control all the way, and that's a nice move.
Biggest lead of the game for either team. Missouri has a 4-point edge. We played 3 minutes of this first-round game from the Hoosier Dome. Larkin, way off the mark, and Leonard rebounds for Missouri.
Well, Larkin thought he got hammered that time. You saw the look he gave the official, and he did miss that shot enough time that I thought he got hit.
He was way off the mark. He didn't even draw iron. Hit the side of the backboard. Sandbody looks inside. Gives it up to Hardy. His short jump shot rims out and rebounded by Kimbrough. Here comes Xavier, but Missouri backed very well on defense. Kimbrough, the point guard, sets it up. Missouri still man-to-man. Larkin guarded by Hardy. Got a pick. Larkin lost the ball out of bounds. Last touch by Missouri.
Now, that was a different offensive set that time for Xavier. First time they set up that way, and they got Larkin into a one-on-one position.
Greg Church, number 33, in for Missouri, a 6'7" sophomore from Palmyra, Missouri, averaging 6 points a game. And you have a look at Campbell, who exited the Xavier lineup, replaced by J.D. Barnett, 6'4" junior from Cincinnati, hits for 5 a game. Barnett has come back from injuries and has really helped this Xavier team. Kimbrough open just inside the three-point line. Won't go. And rebounded by Church. Missouri sets it up, leading 6-2. Chivas inside. It'll count, and he's fouled.
Boy, listen, I spoke to about 2 or 3 coaches, Tom, in the Big 8 conference, and they told me this guy is absolutely incredible at drawing fouls. Watch. There's a perfect example of forcing the contact and finishing the shot, which is what he does every time. They told me that young man can shoot you in or shoot you out of a basketball game, and I assume when he's averaging 24-4 that he shot him in more than out.
Chivas from Jamaica, New York, came west to play his basketball, and you see his average on the season. He has hit 241 free throws this season, and that is more than anyone else in college basketball.
296 attempts at the line. That's incredible.
5 points for Chivas, and Missouri with its biggest lead at 7.
And now another offensive set. They went into the double low to spring out of that.
Taken away inside, and a foul on Missouri.
The one thing I want you to watch, Tom, and the viewers to watch, is Missouri plays the same kind of a defense that Indiana does. That's an aggressive, extremely hard pressure on the ball. The best principles of the zone also with the weak side help. They really slough off, and you could see it in this shot right here. There's the contact right there. Good camera work.
And a foul on Hardy, his first, the second against the Tigers. Knocked out of bounds by Chivas, back to the Musketeers. There's that Band-Aid over Chivas' right eye. That's his trademark. Huh? He keeps playing this well. A lot of players are going to be wearing the Band-Aid.
You are kidding, and he wears it everywhere. Shoulder, knee, up on the forehead, anywhere. Every game it's somewhere different.
Taylor's outside shot, no good. Xavier again on the offensive board, and a putback by Hill. Chivas quickly down court for Missouri, lays it in. Caught Xavier napping.
Derek Chivas. You just don't want to score one and work as hard as Xavier has to work and then give up an easy one at the other end. That was a breakdown on defense.
In a 7-point lead for Missouri. Derek Chivas with 7 points, and Xavier turns it over again. The Xavier Musketeers struggling to handle the ball and struggling to get Byron Larkin into the game. Trail by 7. We've got a timeout on the court with the score Missouri 11, Xavier 4.
In Indianapolis, a surprise underway. Xavier leads it by 4 at the half, and as we turn to Dick Vitale for our comments on the first half, rebounding the key. You're not going to win many games if you get out-rebounded like that.
Well, at one time they were down 20, I believe, 1-6, and my math tells me that's better than 3-1. And Missouri, you would think, would be the better rebounding team. Also, Missouri not going to the free throw line, and they did a great job, Xavier, of containing Chivas. It looks like he was going to get out for a big, big day and have an explosion, but Peter Gillen's done an outstanding job. Let me tell you about Gillen. There were rumors that he was going to be headed for Fordham University, but he loves it in the Midwest. He has an outstanding team coming back. Look for him to stay there, but eventually I look for him to get one of those big mega-buck jobs. Mention Fordham, watch out for Jimmy Lynam, the assistant coach now with the Philadelphia 76ers, where, you know, Harold Katz is an explosive guy. And I think they're getting a little nervous there in Philadelphia. So Lynam, who said no at first to Fordham, all of a sudden said, I'm interested. So now watch Jimmy Lynam, maybe the coach, be a great choice for Fordham.
Okay, we're going to have more when we come back, of course. In this game, Xavier leads it at the half. A surprise as they're up on Missouri. Missouri, the number 4 seed. Another game underway, that in the East, Marshall and TCU. TCU leads that game at the half. And we'll also preview New Orleans, a team on their way possibly to stay at home for the Final Four. The NCAA tournament today continues. We'll be back. The Xavier Musketeers leading Missouri 36-32 at the half.
ESPN's live NCAA basketball tournament coverage continues Thursday. 2 of the nation's potential national champions square off in the day's best regional semifinal. Live Thursday at 6:30 Eastern.
Musketeers, paced by junior college transfer Liddell Eccles. 24 points a game score. Banner season for the squad and their head coach, Benny Dees.
I feel good for our kids. We saw some pretty good basketball players on a dream coming in here. Granison came in here on a dream. That Ronnie, I promise you're going to play on a good team. We'll do whatever we have to get some players and get a team together for you to play with. And he bought that. And that was a red letter day when he came. Eccles came the same way. We said to him, Liddell, we won 16 ball games last year, and we did not score very good. We need a scorer. And if you come to us, we think we can make it to the NCAA. Now, when you sell that dream to those two, just those two in particular, and there were others too, but those two in particular, and then it come true, and, you know, you feel better about it because you told somebody something and it actually happened.
New Orleans should be well rested entering tournament play. They've had a long layoff heading in.
I think it'll work to our advantage. It gave us a little chance to relax. I think we need a little chance to relax. We played a bunch of games in a few days, and I really think that it'll help us out.
Okay, you look at New Orleans, a team that 1 point this year, won 14 in a row. They've won 9 in a row heading into the tournament. They are a Cinderella team, a long shot. Can they win?
I don't think they can win the whole national championship. I hope they don't hear me down here. But I think they definitely can be like Cleveland State was last year and be one of those Cinderella teams that makes a little bit of noise. Liddell Eccles can flat out play. He's powerful, explosive. Some people have questioned his attitude, but he seems to have turned it around. He's absolutely doing a superb job for Benny Dees. And Benny used to work for Wimp Sanderson over at Alabama. And I'll tell you what, I like the way he sells. He said, I'm selling a dream. You sold me, Benny. Your team is legitimate. But unfortunately, they can't get all the great teams to play them because nobody wants to give them a shot. And that's always a problem. It was a problem for Cleveland State to get out of their league and play against great people because guys fear that big L against a New Orleans. But and by the way, it's New Orleans. I was getting flooded with letters that saying, Vitale, it's not New Orleans. I've been studying it for you people down there. It's New Orleans. I got it down now, John.
We got it as we head to the Final Four. BYU, the number 10 seed. They don't have a Danny Ainge there anymore, but what can they do?
Well, they have a great player by the name of Michael Smith. He's about 6'10". He's their leading scorer, leading rebounder, and also they have an outstanding team on the road. They were 10-5 on the road, but they do not have good foot speed. So we're looking at a slow team versus a team with a lot of athletes that can run up and down the floor, and now it's going to be the key. who wins out the battle? Do we have an Indianapolis Raceway, or do we have it at Times Square? If it's up and down, baby, you got to give the edge to the guys down in New Orleans.
I don't know where they're playing it, except that it will be at Birmingham in this one. BYU against New Orleans, this in the Southeast Regional. Coming your way in just a moment. We'll be back with more. Stay with us here on the NCAA Tournament today. Our first game, Xavier facing Missouri, and a surprise 4-point lead for the Musketeers. Now back to the Hoosier Dome.
Tom Hammond and Jim Gibbons from the Hoosier Dome with 4:17 left, and Xavier leading Missouri 62-56. Derek Chivas, the Missouri All-American, without a point in the second half.
Absolutely amazing, because he has really disappeared for the first 16 minutes of this half, and that's to Xavier's credit, because they have really done a terrific job on it.
Winner of this game advances to meet the winner of the Duke-Texas A&M contest on Saturday.
Staying right in that zone defense with all those matchup principles, and it's really got Missouri standing around, Tom.
Church on a wing looking inside. Remember, Chivas has not scored a point in the second half. Puts that one up. Campbell blocked it. Chivas goes into the defense, and the foul will be on Kimbrough of Xavier. That's his second personal foul.
Chivas and Larkin have a lot of the same tendencies. They really know how to get shots off in traffic. Now watch, and they both lean in a lot and draw contact, and that's what he did again there. People have asked him why he's so good at that. He said, you know, when you play on the playgrounds in New York, we don't have any referees and we don't call any fouls. You just have to get that ball up in the glass some way.
9 points all in the first half for the All-American. Missed the free throw. He is 81% normally at the free throw line, and Kimbrough celebrates.
Well, I think he hurt himself when he went down to the floor, and he was asking Peter Gillen about, I thought, coming out. Let's see what happens.
First point of the second half for Derek Chivas. He has 10 for the game. Hits double figures for the 62nd time in his last 65 games. Makes it a 5-point game.
Look at how they clear out and let him go one-on-one. That's good.
Chivas, Missouri's all-time leading scorer, set 6 records for the Tigers this season, but his offense has not been in the game for Missouri.
Now, at the timeout, I said to you, Tom, let's see what Xavier does. Let's see if they start spreading out the floor and burning some time off the clock.
Larkin forced it up, no good. Got his own rebound and lays it, no good.
Wow.
Meanwhile, there's Kimbrough standing at the line waiting for the substitution to come in. It's Devin Rolfe.
So you get that 30 seconds to get that sub in there, and I'm sure that Norm Stewart is smart enough that he's going to wait for as much of that 30 seconds to let Kimbrough stand at that line. That's no good.
Missed it, rebounded by Missouri, and the Tigers have a chance to tie or take the lead.
72% free throw shooter, but that wasn't even close.
Hardy dishes inside. Church is surrounded by blue shirts. Give it to Button. His shot partially blocked on the floor. Larkin has it, and he's fouled by Chivas. They got a good shot, but they couldn't hit.
Yep. And boy, you can't get any better than that. That was good ball movement. They got trapped down on the baseline. They hit the guy right at the top of the key. The pass went, the reversal on the other side. Wide open shot, as you said, Tom. They just couldn't get it. And Xavier went after the rebound. They hustled and got fouled. If he puts these in, it's going to force them to the three-point shot. Watch now. Look at Larkin. Boy, he knew where that ball was. He's going right after it. Chivas. Now, you've got to see. He almost knocked him off balance, and you've got to protect the man with the ball. That's a good call.
31 seconds left. Larkin's free throw is good.
I watch him shoot those free throws. I'm beginning to think at times he is a man with no pulse.
28 points and 9 rebounds for Byron Larkin. He hits 2. That makes it a 4-point lead. It's 70-66 Xavier.
See, now you got to defend against that three. See, there's the three-point shot right away.
Hardy can't hit. Rebounded by Hill to Larkin, and a foul on Missouri. And the Xavier fans begin to smell victory. So do the players.
Well, at the three-point play, it's a little too early to ever start celebrating, I'm convinced, after what we've seen this year, Tom. But Here's your man, the one we talked about before. The great thing is when you've got a guard like that, you know, that you can put the ball in his hands because he can control it, number one, and number two, he's great at the free throw line, so you just force the other team to continually foul you.
Greg Tree with new life. 20 seconds left. They trail by only 4. Hardy lost it out of bounds, but it was last touched by Xavier. 70-66 Xavier, 16 ticks of the clock left. Hardy for 3. Good. 70-69, a 1-point Xavier lead. 7 seconds left. They've got a foul. Kimbrough in front court, 4 seconds left. Campbell makes a save. Larkin, no good, but Xavier holds on to win in a frantic last few seconds. Missouri needed to foul to stop the clock, and they couldn't get anybody.
Just couldn't get to anyone, and I thought they were going to foul Kimbrough, Tom, because he threw up the one earlier that didn't even come close, and I was going to say, if they're going to foul anyone, that's the man that you want to foul. But boy, it just seemed like Xavier, playing with their heads up, found the open man, almost threw it away a couple of times, but they found the open man and got it in the hands of Larkin. Ironically, he missed the lay-in again.
Larkin with 29 points, the hero for Xavier, as they hold on to beat Missouri by 1 at 70-69. We'll be back to the Hoosier.
The NCAA tournament only a couple of games old, and already we have our first upset. Xavier winning, the number 13 seed, beating the number 4 seed in the Midwest as Missouri, the champions in the Big 8, go down today and lose this one. And Dick Vitale, a couple of keys to this game. Byron Larkin on the line and rebounding.
I think Byron Larkin definitely will lead the nation or be in the top 2 or 3 scorers in America next year. He was 9th this year, a bona fide scorer, a slashing player, and they got to be happy with his performance. On the other side, Derek Chivas, I praised him. I said I'll take him ahead of Reggie Miller. Chivas today, for most of the game, was AWOL, was not in the game at all. Then all of a sudden at the end, he tried to turn it on. But you couldn't deny Xavier today. They played a better basketball game. They beat him on the glass, which was really surprising.
Xavier, as you say, moves along with the win over Missouri. So let's take a look at the brackets and see how they line up now. Xavier with the win over Missouri will now face the winner of the Duke-Texas A&M game. That game coming away in just about half an hour. Duke going up against Texas A&M, the surprise team in from the Southwest Conference. Xavier, though, has the win over Missouri here. Xavier advancing at this point. We'll be back with more in just a moment, as we continue on NCAA Tournament today. Xavier, the surprise winner over Missouri by 1. We'll return in just a moment. ESPN presents NCAA Tournament today, Missouri versus Xavier. Xavier, a winner in the Midwest. They get the upset victory over Missouri. Now, they'll go against the winner of Duke and Texas A&M. That game starts at approximately 2:30. Duke, as usual, will be led by their all-star point guard, Tommy Amaker, as Chris Berman reports.
Tommy Amaker has arrived in his senior season as the acknowledged leader of the Duke Blue Devils. But for 3 years, he was simply known as the capable backcourt mate of his buddy, the legendary Johnny Dawkins.
I always looked at our combination as being one of the best in the country, and it was just a privilege and an honor for me to be alongside of Johnny because I always looked up to him, and I thought he was the best guard in the country when he played. So I had the opportunity to go against him every day in practice for 4 years. So I'm really not that, I guess, worried about playing against other people because I've gone against him. I think he's the quickest. He can shoot it. He can handle it. He can jump. So I think he's prepared me for everything I have to get ready for as far as the season was concerned.
Coach Mike Krzyzewski's system at Duke preaches unselfishness and discipline. Amaker has always exhibited these traits, but in this, a transition year for the Blue Devils, his abilities have become even more evident.
He's the type of youngster who subordinated himself to what was better for the team. This year, we've asked him to do more with a cast that is not as stable. The guys around him are a little bit more inconsistent because they're young. They're learning about themselves. So in that respect, this has been Tommy's made an individual adjustment to his game and still has to pay attention to a whole new group of guys. It's been a heck of a year for him.
Well, I've tried to concentrate on some different things individually, and I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of guys around me show a lot of confidence in my ability, and especially the coaching staff. And Coach K has shown a lot of confidence in me, and I just have to be fortunate to be around those people, and when you're around good people, it seems like good things happen.
Amaker's teammates are well aware of his contributions this season.
I've known Tommy since we've been 12 years old. We grew up in Falls Church, Virginia, that area, and I've known he had the capability all the time. And right now, he's always been the floor general on the team, but now he's more of a floor general with a little more offensive power.
He's got a lot of talent, and he's got his head on his shoulders the right way, where he's going to go out and do things well every night. The best thing about him is he's just such a great leader, and he's so fun to play with. He's definitely the key to our team.
Amaker's scoring production has nearly doubled from previous seasons, and he's one of 5 players in ACC history to reach the 700 assist plateau. Still, the best thing about Tommy Amaker is that he's one of those rare players whose heart and desire supersedes statistical output. I'm Chris Berman, ESPN.
In the Midwest, it will be Duke going up against Texas A&M. The Aggies, a team not expected to be here, but just want to talk about Tommy Amaker for a little bit. It seems that with the loss of Johnny Dawkins, he really came into his own. He took over the leadership role that Dawkins had in the past.
John, well, you know, Dawkins was always the great scorer, the explosive scorer, but the little general that made that club go was Amaker. Outstanding point guard in that he gets the ball up the floor to the right people. And number 2, I think his greatest asset is his tremendous pressure that he puts on the ball defensively. I think 2 other guards do that in America that don't get any headlines. Mark Wade down in Vegas and a kid by the name of Johnny Johnson. But I personally think Duke has overachieved all year long. I think we've seen reality come on now at the end of the year where people now no longer can they sneak up on people. Hey, they lost 4 starters from last year. Mike Krzyzewski, to me, has done one of the great coaching jobs in America with this team.
Reality comes in the form of Jim Valvano at NC State.
Oh, don't ruin my day mentioning Valvano. I mean, that guy's getting he gets too much publicity. Too much.
We like to give it to him. You know,
you take care of him.
He looked good with you yesterday at that point. We'll have more coming your way in just a moment. The NCAA tournament today continues. Stay with us. Go out to Birmingham. BYU facing New Orleans. A surprise here, or maybe not. New Orleans with a big lead. It's in the second half as New Orleans tries to go to New Orleans. They have a 60-49 lead. Let's go to Bob Rathman and Dan Bonner.
This is Bob Rathman along with Dan Bonner in Birmingham, Alabama. BYU trying to forge a comeback here, and Jeff Chapman, a junior from nearby Talladega, Alabama, puts that one in for his 24th point of the game to lead all scorers. And the New Orleans Privateer lead is down to 9 at 60-51.
Once again, Smith missing a shot under heavy defensive pressure. Chapman getting the rebound.
Bellick puts it in, and Chapman picks up the foul. Terrence Bellick, a junior out of Louisiana, putting in his 10th point of the game. And Jeff Chapman, who has been Mr. Whole Show for BYU, picks up his 4th foul.
We've talked about New Orleans' quickness the entire game, and that's some pretty good quickness by Bellick as he just leaves Smith standing. He's able to power it up to the basket. Some pretty good strength on the inside by Terrence Bellick. Here you can see Chapman doesn't see him in time. He turns around just in time to draw the foul. BYU's been matched up in his zone the whole game. It looks like they're having difficulty with the man-to-man.
Sam Jones garners the offensive rebound. Corgiani for 3, too long. And a rebound to Chapman.
New Orleans leading BYU in this one in the second half. They have a big lead, as we say. You talk about home court advantage in some of these. How about New Orleans going all the way to the Final Four and staying at home?
Well, that's dreaming right now. That's absolutely dreaming. They can be like Cleveland State. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I believe maybe go on for another round, but basically, you look what's ahead of them. They might have a matchup with Alabama, and that could be tough, but they got an outstanding team with quickness. We said earlier we thought the quickness of New Orleans would be too much for Brigham Young because Brigham Young's got a slower team, and Eccles and those people can play. And I know they're excited about this win because it's been a real rebirth of basketball at New Orleans.
Certainly, as he said, he made promises to these players, and he's been able to keep them. That makes him happy. That at the Southeast Regional, New Orleans with the lead on BYU. We will return in just a moment with more. Don't forget, Middle Tennessee State against Notre Dame in just a moment, so stay with us. First, we want to turn once again to Dick Vitale, who has some interesting news about the DePaul Blue Demons. They would face Louisiana Tech, of course, in the first round.
Well, there's some bad news right now down at DePaul for Joey Meyer's basketball team. 2 of their key players, Rod Strickland and also Kevin Edwards, both have 103 temperatures or are very, very ill. And a real problem has come up because basically they can't give them the kind of medication and the treatment they would like because they were afraid that if they were to have the drug testing that it would test positive. I say right now, you know, I'm a dummy. I don't know much, John, but I would think in a case like this, with a doctor's excuse, you'd waiver the drug testing and treat the young athletes so they can get healthy. That should be the #1 concern. Maybe they're using the old, my mama's old way of treating you, get some chicken soup out. But I think maybe they should have some medication. But again, I'm not a doctor and authority in that. But I think it's interesting, especially with the Gary McLean story now in Sports Illustrated about Villanova's player who claimed that he used drugs during the 1985 championship. And we're going to get into that later when we get more information on the article and also on a basic press conference by Rolly Massimino. So we'll get into that later in the day.
Certainly interesting because it is the first year of the drug testing. Now, one thing that DePaul does have going for it, they will play this game at home against Louisiana Tech at Rosemont Horizon just outside Chicago. Very controversial. Many teams get to play at home. Louisiana Tech, champions of the Southland Conference, 22-7 overall. They go into the tournament. Unbelievable task. They have to go up against DePaul. That's bad enough, but they have to do it on their home floor at Rosemont Horizon.
We don't have a choice over really who we're playing or where we are. We're at the mercy of the NCAA. We're delighted to be in the tournament, and you know, we're going to go play as hard as we can as long as we can.
We're looking forward to going to Chicago and playing in that region out there. As far as playing DePaul, we're excited about playing a nationally ranked team. And I think that's going to give us a little momentum going into it as we just won the conference and conference tournament here in the Southland Conference. So as I say, we're looking forward to playing DePaul.
The Miners of Texas El Paso lost their tournament final to Wyoming, but they did receive a bid, and thanks a lot, they get to play Arizona in Tucson. Coach Don Haskins has mixed emotions about the situation.
You don't want to play a team on their home court. We did that all year long, you know, at different places, but I don't think it's quite fair. But we're happy to be in the tournament, and we are happy that we're going to Tucson. So I've got mixed emotions about that.
Georgia Southern will represent the Trans-American Conference in the tournament, and for their efforts, they'll get to face Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. Coach Frank Kearns is not pleased.
Well, I don't think they should play at home. You know, if I'm sitting there and we were really a team that had a great chance to win that regional, I would be very upset. So I think, you know, that there are enough sites, and the tournament committee should be able to find a way that no one has a home court advantage.
Providence gets to face UAB in Birmingham. Playing in the Big East, though, they say they get used to facing tough teams on the road.
We've had to play teams at home before. It's no different. You know, we approach each game the same, whether we're at home or on the road, and we really don't look at that as a factor at all.
Well, it's going to be tough playing there. We've had a chance to play St. John's and Madison Square Garden, some teams away where it's been tough. So I think we're used to it, and I think the Big East tournament will help us.
Elray Brooks before Billy Donovan, of course, speaking there. But as you said, we don't like this situation. Not many coaches like the situation on the home floor.
John, that's absolutely a no-no. I mean, we have the Joey Meyer Classic. I talked about it earlier. We got a Lute Olson now playing. You know, Iowa would have to play at Arizona. Then we got Boeheim with his Invitational. He hasn't been able to get by the first round. I say law of averages are on his side now, especially playing at home up at Syracuse. A no-no, and I wish the committee, once and for all, would make a decision not to allow that.
The controversy rages on right now. Let's go to break. We'll be back in a moment.
Oh, good pressure there. And the break. Block. And it's goaltending. You like it or not?
The Blue Raiders, well, I think it's a good call, but the Blue Raiders came out of that pack, and this is a big concern for Notre Dame. The Raiders can score inside, and they've got a sneaky fast break. That's how they got up there to 86 points a game.
Their coach said yesterday, we're not quick. You're gonna fool me. There's a pretty drive at the other end.
Notre Dame early attacking along the baseline. And quick. They are usually prone to touch that ball a few times, especially early in the game.
Back they come with an answer. So Randy Henry makes it a 4-2 Middle Tennessee lead. We've just started. I'm Frank Herzog along with Bucky Waters in Charlotte. First minute underway in this game, and these two teams haven't wasted any time putting the ball in the hole.
They really haven't. There are certainly no tournament jitters here.
Look at Rivers.
Game out smoking.
We would think Scott Hicks might get an early test by Middle Tennessee. He missed the last game of the regular season for Notre Dame with a turned ankle, so this is his first time back in 3 games.
Well, actually, he could have played. They held him out, you know, just to be sensible for the tournament since they already had their bid. But
Bam Bam with an air ball.
if that indication on the reject was any valid indication, I'd say his ankle's pretty good. He had ice on his head when he came down.
Here's Stevenson with the ball. And again, they want to run. Rivers.
Oh, is he cute. He got out there, looked down the floor, saw he was outnumbered 3-1, put it in neutral, and then hit the passing gear just to see what kind of reaction he'd get.
Irish looking for their first lead here. We're tied at 4.
Look at inside, close and Rainey.
We're going to get another call, and it's going to be against Rainey, reaching in.
2 we got. Regional in Charlotte right now. Let us move to the west from coast to coast to Salt Lake City, to Kansas State and Georgia. Bob Carpenter and Irv Brown. Kansas State facing the Georgia Bulldogs.
Off the glass, unable to hit was Eric Burdett of Georgia. Ensuing foul on that play. And the Cats will head back down the floor. We've got Kansas State against the Bulldogs of Georgia. The Big 8 against the SEC. Bob Carpenter and Irv Brown here at Salt Lake City. First game of the West Regional. The winner of this game plays the winner of #1 Nevada, Las Vegas, and Idaho State coming up later on. We've got 52 seconds remaining in the first half. At the line is Charles Bledsoe. Kansas State leading by 1, 28-27. Kessler had a touch, so did Mitch Richmond. It will belong to the Bulldogs.
From the West Regional, Kansas State facing Georgia in Salt Lake City. Let us move to the other coast, to the East Regional in Charlotte. Notre Dame in the gold facing Middle Tennessee. Back to Frank Herzog and Bucky Waters.
They're showing 1-2-2 now, drop zone. Tunstall at the head of the key.
This is David Rivers with the ball. Again, they go down there low along the baseline. Not much there this time. Looks like a pretty active zone, Bucky. Oh, that was just... Where did the ball go? I forgot.
But you can't give credit to that one for the defense. That just happened. Stevenson lost the handle.
Scores inside, his first field goal of the day. Dwayne Rainey. We're live from Charlotte Coliseum. Middle Tennessee State is leading Notre Dame 9-8 early in the first half. I'm Frank Herzog along with Bucky Waters. 15 minutes left to go in the first half as David Rivers connects on a 3-point shot.
That's one of the problems when you zone the Irish. You give David Rivers a little leeway at the top of the key. Irish not as patient as they have been in all of those big upsets in February.
Bam Bam forced the shot a bit, and we got an offensive foul. It'll be against number 50, Randy Henry. Their leading scorers so far. Came into this game at about 14 points a game and 6 rebounds. There's Bruce Stewart.
Good move inside. That's how you maneuver 260 pounds, but he put up a brick that time.
Bucky's the only guy I've ever heard of in college basketball who gained 15 pounds in a season. Usually you lose about 8 to 15.
Well, it wasn't always that big, Frank. It just kind of snacked up on him.
Rivers again. This time he misses. He's 1 for 2 from 3-point range, and it'll be Middle Tennessee's ball. I asked Dwayne Washington, the guard for Middle Tennessee, how did the big fella gain 15 pounds? He said his wife is a great cook. His favorite meal is chicken. Right now, it's Irish by 2.
Move along to the game you saw earlier. Missouri facing Xavier, the first game that we had here for you today. Missouri coming into this game as the #4 seed going up against Xavier, and Xavier would have to pull up the upset to get the win. Byron Larkin, one of the reasons. Blocked by Lee Coward. Lynn Hardy picks it up, goes coast to coast. Missouri's up 13-4 at this point, but Xavier begins to take control of the boards. Stan Kimbrough misses, but watch Tyrone Hill, who comes in, goes up very strong for the ball, and just puts it in as he spins around. Norm Stewart not happy. 25-24, Xavier's up. The Musketeers extend their lead. Kimbrough comes up with a steal. and does a 360 in the lane and scores. He had 14 points. 32-26, Xavier with the lead. Tigers cut it to 4 at the half, but Larkin penetrates the pump fake and hits. He had 29 points, 43-34. Pete Gillen yells encouragement and loves what he sees. Missouri fights back. Lynn Hardy tracks down the long pass and then takes it into the hole as he puts it in with the right hand. Tigers within 2. Xavier goes back up by 8. Then Kimbrough passes ahead to Larkin. He makes a nice move in the paint, pops it, 29 for Larkin, 65-57 Musketeers. Tigers within 4. Then with 15 seconds left, Lynn Hardy cans the three-pointer. It's a one-point game, but then Xavier moves the ball around well. Tigers can't find anyone to foul. Xavier plays keep away as time runs out. Missouri's 9-game winning streak comes to an end. Xavier advances with a 19-12 record. They get the 70-69 win over Missouri, the number 4 seed in the Midwest, and Xavier pulls off our first upset of the day. And again, we have to go to the coach, to Dick Vitale. Does this surprise you at all? A lot of people were very, very excited about this Missouri team.
Nothing really excites me when you put two clubs of that caliber. You and I told you are going to battle, but I'd rather battle with Bob Lee because he's a little frail. And as Valvano said, any guy that spells his name L-E-Y, I got a shot. Looking at your wide body, I don't have a shot. But, hey, John, seriously, the unpredictability and the parity that exists now in collegiate basketball, no, it doesn't shock me at all. Byron Larkin's a great scorer. I said earlier, I think he has a great chance to lead the nation in scoring next year. And the key of the game was Derek Chevius. Where were you, Derek? Derek was absolutely missing in action. He wasn't there to perform for the first 38 minutes. At crunch time, he became a superb player, but it was too late.
Okay, somebody made mention of coming up flat for this game.
Oh,
now,
I can't.
You can't believe that in the NCAA.
No, John, I really can't. I don't think there's any way a team can be flat. If a coach can't get a team to play with intensity and emotion at NCAA tournament time, then I'd have to question that coach's ability as a motivator. And I just can't buy that in terms of that as an excuse for an NCAA tournament.
Okay, one team that was ready to play today, that, of course, TCU. TCU came into this game. They had lost in the Southwest Conference tournament against Texas A&M, a team that was the number 8 seed. Today they came in and faced Marshall, this in the East, being played in Charlotte. And they come in and get the victory in this one. Skip Henderson from Marshall takes the pass, then drives down the lane and pumps it in. It's a one-point game. But TCU stayed hot through the first half. Carl Lott, TCU's 6th man, drives the lane, bangs it home, 38-27, TCU at the half. Second half, all TCU. More specifically, Carvin Holcomb. Here, Norman Alexander drives and dishes to Holcomb. He drops it in. They're up by 10. Then Carvin Holcomb takes another nice pass as the Horned Frogs continue to work the baseline here. They get 2 more. Holcomb finished with 30 points. Finally, Marshall throws the ball away as they're struggling down the line. Off the break, Carvin Holcomb one more time again. Showtime, he takes it in. He finishes with 30 points. 76-60 is the final. TCU gets the wide victory over Marshall. And again, no surprise, the key that we kept talking about earlier in this one is coming back after their poor showing in the SWC.
Yeah, they really collapsed at the end of the year, but they really play great team defense. Their matchup zone defense creates a lot of problems. As I said earlier, there were only 2 teams that scored more than 60 points on them when they lost Carl Lott. Lott's the 6th man, but he's really not. He's one of their premier players, but he's been out with a knee injury. Carvin Holcomb is the MVP of the Southwest Conference, and he can play. I'll tell you, play almost as well as you and Bob Lee do in a backcourt feeding me some lines, and that's not easy to work with a guy like me.
Okay, it's pretty easy to feed you some lines. As you said earlier, like Muggsy Bogues or Kenny Smith. Just
no, I'm not Muggsy.
No, we are. We're passing the ball
up
to the big guy right there. We will continue in just a moment here on the NCAA Today. We're at halftime. Notre Dame with the lead over Middle Tennessee State. Stay with us. Kansas State up against Georgia. Georgia with the lead with just about a minute left in the game. Willie Anderson with 33. Let's go to Bob Carpenter and Irv Brown.
West Regional, Salt Lake City, 1 minute remaining. Georgia has just gotten a basket from Willie Anderson, who has 33 points. Mitch Richmond has 30 for Kansas State. 72-70, the Bulldogs over the Wildcats. K-State with the ball.
Art Heron is all over Richmond now. He denied the basketball the last time. He's only played a couple minutes in this game. He's in the game right now to stay all over Richmond. They got him down in the blocks.
Steve Henson on top for Charles Bledsoe. K-State looking for that opening.
It's tough. I tell you, Heron won't back off.
Lynn Smith out on top, nearly a steal by Chad Kessler of Georgia. Shot clock at 15, game clock under 35. Mitch Richmond, he's done it all today. Punched away, but Coleman has it. Tie game.
Last shot coming up for Georgia. And guess who's going to take it? It's got to be number 40. It's got to be Anderson.
Georgia calls timeout. Willie Anderson, number 40. 33 points on the day. Hugh Durham is the man he's thinking about, and defensively, so is Lon Kruger.
Kansas State and Georgia tied in the West Regional. We'll check back there in just a moment. Right now, out to the break again. Kansas State and Georgia tied.
Thrilling game to tip off the West Regional here in Salt Lake City. Bob Carpenter and Irv Brown, K-State and Georgia, all tied. 20 seconds left.
Boy, we had some great action. Mike Karen was denying the basketball, worked very hard inside. They wanted to go to Richmond all the way. He's been the guy who got him there. Coming around a pick, goes inside, loses the ball, but there's Norris Coleman. Heron did his job. Coleman did his job.
That tied it at 72. Heron looking to throw it in, gets it in for Alec Kessler. Heron out on top, a walk-on in the game in a crucial situation.
This was the guy who was going to the Navy to play football. They'd like to get it to Scott.
Georgia wants another timeout. They used 11 seconds.
Timeout right now with 9 seconds left in the game. You're tied. A little bit of movement on the clock in the last part. What do you do, Coach?
Well, you caught me there napping for a moment, John, but I'll tell you this. I haven't seen all the personnel on the floor right now for Georgia, but I'll tell you one thing. If Dennis Williams is on the floor right now, he would be a key player to watch because he's won some crucial games. Anderson, number 40, is the big scorer right now in his basketball game. But I also want to point out that, you know, Huey Durham's done one of the amazing jobs. They lost 3 kids, 2 academically and also 1 due to an injury, David Dunn, Hamilton, and Tony Mack, and yet this team's been so competitive all year long. Interesting game here, but I really think right now, if Williams is on the floor, be careful Williams making the winning shot.
Do you use a decoy? Do you perhaps look at Willie Anderson at this point? Obviously, they're thinking he's going to take the shot and maybe then go to your man Williams.
Well, they're going to probably right now try to deny the ball to Anderson. He's got the hot hand. He's been scoring really big. I believe I heard him say that he had like 30-plus points. So they're going to really defensively try to deny him the basketball. But again, denying, when you're a great player, I always believe great players get free. If you're a superstar, the Oscar Robertsons, the Jerry West, the Isaiah Thomases, they find a way to get free to get the rock. That's what makes them a superstar.
Okay, 9 seconds left. Let us go back to Salt Lake City.
Penetration, everybody pound the glass. Make sure, and what Hugh Durham is telling his people, if there is a miss, don't climb somebody's back. If there's a foul, make it be a charging foul so there's no shot.
9 seconds remaining in regulation. K-State, 19 wins, Georgia 18, the Big 8 against the SEC.
I don't think either one of us are that smart, but we said it should go to the wire, and it has.
I think you said that part.
No, I think we both.
I'll give you credit for that one. Yeah, the Wildcats doing some sweating underneath that.
You know, it's interesting. If you've ever tried and worked hard at athletics, here's Heron going to inbound in the key situation. The walk-on. All right, Anderson's down low in the blocks. Richmond has him. Here he comes.
Trying to set picks. Heron can't get it in, so he calls a timeout. And he almost stepped onto the court.
Yeah, he did. He was able to hang on. Got a new rule this year. You don't have the change of possession in 4 seconds.
Another timeout.
Interesting, almost a mistake there on the sidelines. It looked like he might have taken steps.
Yeah, you're not allowed to move with the basketball. No. When an official hands the ball to you after a timeout, after a violation, etc., you cannot move on that sideline. The only time you can run up and down a baseline is after a score. And it looked like maybe there was a little dance there, but maybe he had the timeout prior to the movement of the feet.
What is going on there right now? Obviously, there was something he didn't like that he saw, that he could not inbounds a ball.
Well, they did a great job defensively of denying every entry, trying to force the 5-second turnover. Remember, the ball has to be put in play from that sideline and must touch a player on the floor prior to the count of 5. In the NBA, you just have to release it before the count of 5, and that's a little different strategy. The key right now is to get the ball in bounds. There are so many teams at the end of the game. Dean Smith's number 1. They rather go into the flow of the offense than get the first good shot, than call the TO and timeout, because inbounding the basketball usually presents some problems.
We've talked about what Georgia is trying to do out there. Now, on the other side of the coin, what's Kansas State trying to do?
Kansas State trying to force the violation. Definitely, you don't want to foul. That's number 2. Number 1, you try to force the turnover by denying the basketball. And number 3, you got to play head up, tough tough defense. You can't allow them to have an open shot, so everybody's got to play honest defense.
It's Kansas State against Georgia. To recap again, it's tied at 72-72 at Salt Lake City. This in the West Regional. Let us go there now after the timeout. 9 seconds left in the game. Again, it's all tied up. 72-72 in the West Regional at Salt Lake City.
Georgia has 1 timeout remaining. Kansas State has 3. 9 seconds left regulation. The winner of this game plays Nevada, Las Vegas. If they beat Idaho State, and Jerry Tarkanian has already walked his team into the arena. Offensive foul against Mike Heron, the walk-on. On the inbounds play, on the floor, injured, appears to be Lance Simmons.
Keep in mind, there's no shot. But what an effort by Simmons. Now, K-State has done it all year long, drawing the charge. I'll tell you something, that's the one thing you got to watch is your body balance, and Heron threw it in, got a little excited, didn't watch his body balance, and the charge call. So we got 8 seconds left, plenty of time to come down, and you know they're going to try to go to Mitch Richmond.
Looks like Lance Williams got the air knocked out of him, but he's got it back. K-State evidently has called a timeout. The Georgia players are all out on the floor, but K-State, I think Lon Kruger is telling the official, yeah, we did call timeout. So they have 2 remaining. 8 seconds left, and the Wildcats with the ball after the big turnover.
Let's take a look. Once again, Heron, a gutty guy, makes the pass in, and he'll throw it into Kessler, and then he jumps in. Now watch Simmons come across and draw the charge. They've been doing it all year long. They get a key turnover here. They got a chance with 8 seconds left to win the basketball game. Here's where you earn your money.
At the age of 34, coaching a nail-biter at his first NCAA. After 4 years at Pan American, 20-8 there last year. Former scoring champion at K-State, 2-time Big 8 Player of the Year. Meanwhile, on the Georgia end, a lot of concern. Bulldog cheerleaders. There are some K-State fans here. 8 seconds remain in a 72-all game. There's Mike Heron right in the middle of your screen, the walk-on called for the offensive foul.
Well, he'll draw Coleman. All right, I beg your pardon, he'll draw Richmond, but here's the key here. I'm wondering if Lon Kruger doesn't go for the alley-oop. Nobody's looking for that. Everybody's looking for Richmond to create something. Coleman, the second man. I like the way Lon Kruger stays cool. That's the same way he was when we played basketball. Not a hair out of place. He ran things for Jack Hartman.
Maybe the Wildcat press guide says it all. Right on the cover, picture of him playing, and a present-day picture in his coat and tie standing in front of it, calling it proud to be a Wildcat again. The Wildcats have a chance to advance on to round 2. Georgia has to hope for a big defensive play or a K-State miscue that could send this game into overtime. I'd like to thank our NCAA basketball committee representative Arnie Farron here today, the tournament manager Ned Alger, and tournament media coordinator Bruce Woodbury from K-State, AD Larry Travis, Lon Kruger, his staff, and the SID Dwayne Dupron. From Georgia, AD Vince Dooley, head coach Hugh Durham, his staff, and sports information director Norm Riley. Transportation arrangements made through Fugazi International Travel, the official travel agency for the NCAA championships. 8 seconds left, 72 all.
All right, if you're wondering where Richmond is, it looks like a 2-man game. He's coming underneath.
They inbound it to Coleman. Coleman stripped away, and we may be going to overtime. Heron has it. Regulation is over. They never got off the shot. Norris Coleman tried to dribble into.
Let's move to the west in Salt Lake City. Kansas State and Georgia in overtime. Waning seconds of the game. Bobby Carpenter and Irv Brown with the call.
Heron, the walk-on. 2-shot foul. And he will not tie the game.
What do you do now? Do you miss it intentionally? K-State does not have to shoot. The shot clock will be off.
Got the second one, his first point of the day. 78-77. 40 seconds left in overtime. The little point guard of Georgia checks back in. 5'8" Milt Blakely.
They'd like Scott to get fouled. don't know if you can wait to foul a certain person. This is the one K-State would like foul, Scott.
Henson is an 82% shooter. Blakely all over him. Play continuing.
Hughes Halloran, he wants that clock stopped. There it is. It's a good free throw shooter.
Williams fouling Will Scott, the leading shooter from the stripe of the Wildcats.
The great thing about the three-point play, even if both of them go down, you still got a chance to tie.
Ron Kruger's team in position to win it. 78-77. But even with both of these, you got to think about Anderson and a three-pointer at the other end. Scott has 16.
And Kruger's already putting it in the bank. He's thinking, now we got to defense the perimeter. Hugh Durham, excuse me, is thinking about how he's going to set it up. This guy is an automatic lock when it comes to free throws. 21 seconds left.
Now it will take the three-pointer to tie. Georgia has plenty of time.
Right now, let's go back to the West Regional in Salt Lake City. Georgia trailing Kansas State, the dying seconds of the game.
Taking on Virginia.
Bob, how do you get the three-point shot off? One of the ways, even though the K-State knows that they've got to go for three, if you kick it in quick, people tend to double down, then forget what they were told, and then get it back out. Here we go, final 20.
Williams bringing it down the floor for Georgia. Inside, a turnover, but then the Cats couldn't keep it in play. Diving to the floor was Steve Henson. Hugh Durham's Bulldogs get another chance. 14 seconds remain.
All right, you got to be conscious where 40 is. We're talking about Anderson. Richmond has him. Another delay as they wipe the floor. Delays are not good for basketball teams. You watched Tarkanian a moment ago. Hey, he's getting antsy. His team is antsy. People out on the floor are antsy right now. Well, watch Anderson. I think he'll come around a pick from Kessler down in the blocks. Try and get it in the corner would be my guess.
Milt Blakely to throw it in. Watch number 40, top center of the screen.
They're fighting through pretty good.
Willie's got it. It's going to miss that one. Rebound, Mitch Richmond. Fouled with 9 seconds remaining.
Two-shot foul it should be. It is.
Georgia had more time, but Willie launched it.
I tell you what, K-State did a great job right there doing. They switched. They've been doing it all year long. Key situation. They were able to switch, force a tough shot. They defended the perimeter. See if we can pick it up. All right, watch him switch right here. And then Anderson goes up. Tough shot. He's been terrific all day long. A little long. Richmond needs one of these. One more time in here as we look at the foul. You need one. It used to be always wanted the odd count. Now you want the even count. K-State has pulled everybody back so they don't pick up a silly foul.
That one should do it. Even if Georgia brings it down the floor and scores, they could call a timeout, forcing K-State to throw it in.
Remember the putback that Bledsoe had moments ago.
5 points the lead. Clock running. Down from 9. Timeout. Oh, and the ball could went in for a three-pointer. Hugh Durham is looking at Willie Anderson saying, why did you call timeout? Now, that hurts the possibilities of scoring and then calling timeout.
Williams has had a tough time from the outside. Threw it that in the way he planted, long off the glass. So they've got 6 seconds to get a shot down. Do they have a timeout left?
Do they now?
Was that their last timeout? You're allowed
They've called 2. At the end of regulation, Georgia had 1 timeout remaining. It's the second timeout they've called here in overtime. So instead of 82-80 and timeout with Kansas State with the ball, it's a 5-point spread. K-State still has it. But now what do you do? Even if you get
a little bit of an untimely timeout there as the ball went through.
They had the three-point play. I still don't agree with that strategy. I really believe you got a foul. I think suppose Anderson would have hit that. Fortunately for them, his foot looked like it was touching the line, that it would have been a 2-point opportunity and not a 3. but I just can't see giving a team the opportunity to tie and send it into overtime when if you foul them and put the ball in play, you win the basketball game.
You talk at points like this with the fouling as well. You'd like to see a change in the rule and have them the ability to inbounds the ball, the option.
Well, yes, I really do. I think the last 4 minutes of a game have become an eternity, and I would like to see them at the end of a game go to the international rule where you have the option to put the ball in bounds if you do not desire to shoot the free throw. I think it would speed up the game a little bit. Some say no. Some say we will just try to force the steal, and we will foul every time when you're trying to put the ball in bounds because we have nothing to lose. You're just going to take the ball out of bounds.
Maybe it would be interesting if there was a limit, a line there right there where, say, 10 points they did it one way or the other way. Right now we want to go back to the West Regional in Salt Lake City. The dying seconds of the game, Georgia up against Kansas State and trailing back to Bob Carpenter and Irv Brown.
About to come to an end, along with the career of Chad Kessler. Williams for three. Alec Kessler. It's over. 82-79. K-State on to round two against either Nevada, Las Vegas, or Idaho State. That will do it.
First round of the West Regional, Georgia loses this one. Kansas State with the 82-79 win. It took overtime to do it, but they will advance. We'll be back with more in just a moment, including heading back to the East. ESPN presents NCAA Tournament Today. UNLV versus Idaho State. Brought to you by Budweiser, the genuine article. This Bud's for you. By the 1987 German-engineered Volkswagens and your Volkswagen dealers. And by the Coca-Cola Company and bottlers of Coca-Cola Classic. It's red, white, and you. We'll head out to join the Running Rebels in Idaho State in just a moment. But first of all, we want to run down some more action from elsewhere. First, from the Southeast Regional. This between BYU and the University of New Orleans. And this one, UNO would get the victory. BYU on the run. Up to Bob Kaitner for the nice reversal layup. 24-21. Later in the first half, the jumper off target. Terrence Belloc is there to slam it home. Part of a 15-2 run. New Orleans leads by 13. Terrence Belloc one more time. This time on the drive. He is fouled and gets the three-point play with a strong move in the paint right there. He had 15. Privateers lead 65-54. But then the Cougars make a run. Brian Taylor nails one from three-point land to give BYU the 72-68 lead. BYU coach Liddell Anderson likes it. Then the Privateers go to work. Gabe Corciani feeds Eldon Irving for the nice baseline move and the foul three-point play. New Orleans is up by 2 again. Then the long inbounds pass to Liddell Eccles, who gets 2 of his 25 on the slam. New Orleans gets the victory in this one. New Orleans, of course, was seeded higher, but they win it 83-79 over BYU. And the fast-running team against the slow team, the quick team, gets the win. Let us go there for the announcements of the starting lineups.
Now then, let's get Mike Lunge's introduction of the starting lineups.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Special Events Center in the first round of the Men's Division I Western Regional NCAA Basketball Tournament. Today's second game features the Bengals of Idaho State University and the Runnin' Rebels of UNLV. Let's meet the starting lineups. For Idaho State at forward, a 6'5" senior from Pocatello, Idaho, number 30, Don Holston. For UNLV at forward, a 6'8" junior from Rayne, Louisiana, number 23, Gerald Patio. For the Bengals at forward, a 6'6" junior from Vallejo, California, number 32, George Davis. For the Runnin' Rebels, as 6'8" junior forward from Detroit, Michigan, number 44, Jarvis Bassnight. For Idaho State at center, a 6'8" senior from Glendale, California, number 33, Toros Yetanekian. For UNLV at center, a 6'9" senior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, number 35, Armin Gilliam. For Idaho State University at guard, a 6' junior from Seattle, Washington, number 12, Troy Miles. For UNLV at guard, a 6' senior from San Pedro, California, number 10, Mark Wade. For the Bengals at guard, a 6'3" sophomore from Portland, Oregon, number 21, Jim Rhodey. And for the Running Rebels at guard, a 6'3" senior from Las Vegas, Nevada, number 13, Freddie Banks. Now please welcome the head coach for the Idaho State Bengals, Dr. Jim Botan. Now the head coach for the UNLV Running Rebels, Mr. Jerry Tarkanian.
All right, let's meet the men who will officiate today's game. The referee is Peter Pavia, and Bill Bova and John Russell are the two umpires. UNLV and Idaho State University. And we'll be back with the opening tip-off in just a moment.
The 44-year-old head coach
of Idaho State has gets a three-pointer. Not unusual to see that at all. And UNLV has jumped out in front 5-0.
Now, this is what we talked about at the start. Trying to control the tempo. Idaho State's got to get into their offense, take their time, but you see UNLV overplays a lot, pressures, and forces up this shot.
Rhodey misses, and Gilliam grabs the rebound. And the Rebels are off and running a minute into the ball game, leading by a score of 5-0. At the other end, it is Bassmont. It is 7-0. And the worst fears, I would imagine, Lynn Shackelford, of the Idaho State Rebels are coming true right now.
I think they almost need a timeout right now.
Don Holston for the Bengals. Leading scorer, Don Holston, the 6'5" senior, a full-blooded Yurok Indian. And the Bengals have cut the margin down 7-3.
That was a good move by Holston. You're going to foul outside. Good move by Holston down at the other end. He knew a three-pointer would go a long way to get his team some confidence if he could make it.
And it is 7-3, UNLV leading Idaho State. The foul was called on Troy Miles, 6-foot junior out of Seattle, Washington. UNLV is Patio shooting and missing. Rebounded by Miles, the littlest guy on the floor. Let's see how they use Yetanecki in the big center. Well, not at all. A three-point effort. What is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And it is 7-6 with 2 minutes having gone by. UNLV by 1.
You can't say they don't have courage. Come down and fire up those three-pointers. Stay right with them.
Freddie Banks got his first one, missed his second one. Armin Gilliam is fouled as he goes up for the shot by Yetanecki, I believe.
Yeah, one real important factor for Idaho State is the foul situation for Yetanecki. He is getting in foul trouble quite often as a player, and against UNLV, the way they crash the boards, as soon as they get an offensive rebound, I suspect he'll be making some fouls like he did right there.
Gilliam at the line. The foul is called on Don Holston, incidentally, rather than Yetanecki, so it is his first. I thought it was on the center. 2 shots for Gilliam, who is a 72% free throw shooter. Boy, has he been to the free throw line a lot this year. That is his 225th free throw opportunity of the year. It is a 2-point lead for the Runnin' Rebels. Now here's that full court pressure. Troy Miles, a 6-foot junior from Seattle, working against Patio on the trap now. And a foul on Gilliam. So the team fouls are now even at 1 apiece.
Very tough conference as they showed this year. We have more in just a moment as the by winning their conference tournament here. Now A&M turns it over. Darryl McDonald steals it right back to John Trezvant. He goes in for the one-handed jam, 12-6 Aggies. Mike Krzyzewski doesn't like it. Blue Devils find their composure though. Tommy Amaker steals, gives it to Robert Bricky. Bricky then takes it in all alone down the paint, two-handed jam. Duke takes the lead. Then before halftime, Amaker cans a three-pointer. He's the leader out there on the floor for the Blue Devils, and he gets this one. Duke at the half, 30-22, the 8-point lead. The Aggies come back. Billy King loses control. Trezvant, a long pass to McDonald. It's blocked by Kevin Strickland, but watch, Winston Crite follows up, takes the ball, wheels and deals, turns around, bangs it off the glass. A&M within 1. Duke hangs on, though. Strickland with the fake and the jumper. He had 20 points. Duke goes on to the 58-51 win. Duke will face Xavier next in the Midwest. Duke gets the 58-51 win over Texas A&M. Texas A&M, as I said, Cinderella team not expected to be there. Now, as we told you, Duke will face Xavier. Xavier, speaking of Cinderellas, gets the 1-point victory over Missouri, knocking off the number 4 seed in the Midwest. They did it this afternoon at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, and they did it in fine style as well. So let's take a look at how they match up in the brackets here in the Midwest. Duke gets the victory over Texas A&M. Missouri with the victory, or rather the loss to Xavier. Xavier will go up against Duke in the next round. Xavier and Duke are first two teams to advance. Okay, now let us move to the east here and check in on Notre Dame and Middle Tennessee State, the score in this game. 84-71. The Fighting Irish get the victory here. It was a hard-fought game early on, but Notre Dame comes on late in the game, gets the win. 84-71 was the final. TCU against Marshall, also in the east. Marshall with the big loss here. TCU, the Horned Frogs, coming back. They lost to Texas A&M in the first round of their tournament. 76-60, though. They get the win in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We'll be back with more in just a moment. The Runnin' Rebels of Nevada, Las Vegas facing Idaho State, and they have a huge 46-27 lead at halftime. Stay with us. There's more to come.
Score 95-70. The Runnin' Rebs. It was easy in the final analysis. Welcome back along with Dick Vitale. I'm Bob Lee. We're getting revved up for our prime time doubleheader. UNLV, a team, Dick Vitale, that would be undefeated right now were it not for that Murphy's Law Symposium at Oklahoma at the end of the first half when everybody got it wrong. The TV people, the referees, and that three-point fiasco with the replay. They win that game. They're perfect at this point in the season.
Yeah, they played brilliant today, too, Bob, but you use words already. You come on 1 minute on a show, symposium. I mean, what are you getting carried away with your intellect? I'm just a little dummy trying to make a living. But I'll tell you this, you know, you talk about Jerry Tarkanian's basketball team. They blow away Idaho State. The real question I would have about this, and I'm sure Jerry doesn't want any close games, how will they react in a tight game? The last time they were really challenged, I guess, would have been the situation with Oklahoma. I know in that one game against New Mexico State, they were down 19 and showed a lot of courage and came back and won going away. But I'd like to see how they would react in the last 4 minutes. I know one thing. They will be there after the next game for the next round, waiting for that school with those 4 magical letters that say UCLA. UCLA wants them. I told you yesterday, and I say it again. I'm not sure UCLA will get there, and if they do, I think that will be blowout city. I think Vegas too strong for the Bruins.
Next stop, though, for UNLV, it'll be Kansas State with Norris Coleman, so we'll see if they can handle the big man. We asked Tark about that last night. We asked Tark live on our preview show about playing UCLA. And you asked him, Dick, if he could give you a lesson in learning how to walk like a Tarkanian.
All the top 10 teams that we play, they do the same dance, don't you know? 'Cause we move too quick. They're falling down like a domino. The other coaches don't know the first thing about towel etiquette. Tarkanian, oh, he knows. Snaps the seats when the towel is wet. All the fans down in Vegas town say, Rebels, Rebels, Rebels. Walk like a Tarkanian.
Baseball playing Ripkins, Cal Senior, Junior, and Bill. Hi, I'm Chris Fowler. We'll talk about the Ripkins baseball beginnings on this week's ESPN Scholastic Sports America Saturday.
Against K-State. Norris Coleman, when he finally got his eligibility back, had a lovely season this year. Is he the type of player that can really expose the interplay of UNLV?
Not really. He, you know, is a big player. He's a good scorer inside. The kid, Mitch Richmond, has really come on. He's a junior college player. Since they inserted him in the lineup, he's done great things for Lonnie Kruger's team. But I still like Nevada, Las Vegas. Hey, I'll bet you will not know.
All right.
No one out there will. Who should be the recipient of the most valuable player award on a Nevada, Las Vegas team? Armin Gilliam, would you give him a shot?
Yeah, sure.
Freddie Banks?
Sure.
Mark Wade?
Yeah.
Forget it.
All right.
The MVP, they would to get a gold trophy about 6 foot high, Jerry Tarkanian, and ship it to Springfield, Massachusetts to Edward Stites and put MVP. Thank you, Eddie, for the three-point shot. Because, baby, that has taken them far.
You saw in our little look at the music video, Walk Like a Tarkanian, that shot in the NIT final, the preseason NIT against Temple, 21 feet. You can hit it. If I can hit it and you can hit it, and I've seen you hit it, and you got to take my word, I can't. It is too close. It is too much a component. The pros don't take that percentage of shot. The percentage of shots far too high. Maybe they'll move it back next year.
They will.
In the East. Well, you think they will?
They will. they'll definitely move that back. Put that down as gospel. I guarantee you that thing will be moved back. Eddie Stites is too smart, he and his committee. And I've been teasing Ed all year. I like you, Ed. I'll be up in Springfield next week. Make sure you buy me dinner. I know you got the deepest pockets down there in Springfield, Mass.
Okay, let's take a look at what happened today in the East, where Texas Christian knocked out early in the Southwest Conference Tournament. They got it together, though, today against Marshall, 76-60. The three-guard offense doing it. Also a lovely shooting day for Carvin Holcomb, who was 14 for 17 from the floor. TCU moves on to take on the Fighting Irish. The Irish leading all the way against the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State. The team that Denny Crum had some thoughts about their being in this tournament. They were the regular season champs of the Ohio Valley Conference. The Irish beat them by 13. Rivers had 27. Donald Royal had 24. And the Irish, you look for hot teams this time of the year. Notre Dame has won 10 straight games. And Michigan leads our game of interest at the moment by 5 points. We'll get back there to Charlotte after this. These guys, well, who are the people like Fairfield and Idaho State and Bucknell and Austin Peay? Playing an unknown. We've seen our share of upsets over the year, and the good teams are ready for the unknown teams. Just ask Dwayne Bryant.
No, I don't know much about the club, but I would imagine that they have to be a pretty good club in order to get into the NCAAs. So, I mean, we're going to prepare for them just the same as we would prepare for Syracuse or anybody else. We're just going to come out and play them as hard.
He's talking about Bucknell. Georgetown opens up against them. The Jaguars of Southern of the SWAC matched up against the second Midwest seed, Temple. You can't take anybody lightly.
Regardless of who we'd played, we're going to have the same problem. You run into a situation in the first round where anybody can come out and become a buzzsaw to you. We're just hoping that we'll become the buzzsaw, but it is a danger. But I think that what we're concerned about right now is that we're extremely happy that that we're in.
You have to figure that they're good enough to make the 64 teams. They obviously won their tournament, so right now they must be on sort of a roll, and we have to look at them as if they're a good ball club, and we know they're going to come out and play us hard because we have this national ranking and everything, so they're really going to come at us, and we're going to have to be mentally prepared for it.
There is that line in the movie Hoosiers when the coach of the fictional team based on Milan says, let's go out and win it for all the little schools that never have a chance to get here, and that's danger. Danger if you're a big power going up against a team that really is going out with nothing to lose and no pressure.
I don't buy that at all, Bob.
All right.
I would rather be the big power like Georgetown, have all the ammunition like John Thompson, come out with that full court traps and go against the Bucknell team. Ask the Bucknell coach if he'd like to switch rosters with John Thompson, who's my national coach of the year. You want to debate me on that one?
No, I can't. We agree on this one point. Way to go. With John Chaney certainly in the running as well. And
Joey
also,
Meyer.
yes, and the job that Larry Finch has done at Memphis
also, what
State.
about the job General Bob Knight did, and also Dean Smith?
Oh, you're the shop steward of the Union.
8:33 to go in the ball game from here at the Hoosier Dome. San Diego, having led by 5 of the half, trails now by 1. They trail by as many as 6 of the second half of play. This is Ralph Hackett with John Laskowski.
Auburn's been able to pick the tempo of the ball game up, and there you see a turnover, but they don't mind that. They want to get in a transition ball game. They know they're going to get some hoops out of it.
Mark Maynard has picked up a field goal in this half. But this is the man that's hurt Auburn scoring-wise in the second half. That's Scott Thompson as he picks up 10. All of his points have come in this half of play.
7 foot, 260 pounds. He's a big man inside.
And they just draw the third foul on him. Hank Egan is absolutely no stranger to this area. He was one of the coaches of the Olympic trial down in Bloomington, helping out Coach Bob Knight.
In fact, the alternate coach to George Raveling. And there you see a great career record. A lot of that at Air Force, but a real good record at San Diego. 59-25 in just 3 years at San Diego.
Let's look at Ford going against him again.
There's the drive, a little off balance. But the important thing is they picked up the third foul on the big man. He's going to stay in the game, though.
Frank Ford hits 69.5% from the free throw line. Frank has 3 points. At halftime, Auburn's guards had not scored. That means they have now scored 5 points for the ball game.
And you can see they're used to scoring. Frank Ford in double figures 22 of 29 games. They're used to bringing that ball up the floor, and that's Auburn's offense.
And that's 4 points for him, Sonny Smith, the head man at Auburn. He's there now for his 9th year. Says, again, there are rumors of him maybe quitting, getting out of coaching. But he says there's nothing to it. He says, I will be here next year when they throw it up. 7:42. Of course, Auburn is one of 6 Southeastern Conference teams to get into the NCAA. One of 8 out of 10 teams to get in postseason tournament play. This foul is going to be on Ford.
Now, the winner of that game, if Indiana beats Fairfield, will be taking on Indiana. We'll step aside for a second. The other game with 13 minutes to go, Michigan has taken a 13-point lead, 13-12 on the clock. Back to Charlotte with the Wolverines on top after this.
Now. Walking over to Navy on the turnover.
Michigan has had very few turnovers because they are not very fancy with that ball. They're working one or two passes, and that man, Bill Frieder, wants it on the glass, preferably from guard Thompson.
Navy with 4 unanswered points, almost 6. For Robinson.
An exhausted David Robinson.
Capacity crowd here in Charlotte has seen a great matchup between these two teams, the 8th and 9th seeds in the NCAA East. Michigan finished 5th in the Big Ten. Navy, the champion of the Colonial Athletic Association.
Navy now going man for man against that spread 2-3 zone. Michigan established an inside game. There just wasn't any movement at all in the Navy zone, and they went from three-point shooting to just carving the inside of the Navy defense. I think this is a good move by Pete Herman.
This is guard Thompson on the near side of the ball, who's been doing all the three-point damage. Cliff Reese has drawn the defensive assignment against him. The first lob of the night attempted to David Robinson, and the ball thrown a little bit too high. The basket got in his way.
Well, it's one of the few times tonight Doug Wojcik, the superb guard, did not have Grant right in his face. Wojcik throws that lob about as well as you can. Of course, a guy like Robinson on the other end can make your mistakes look pretty good. Michigan now spreading the floor, taking a little more time with the ball.
They're going to use some clock. They've got a 7-point lead. What do you think?
I don't know. It looks like they want Navy to play man for man, but they're playing so well. Their momentum is so good. You have to wonder about getting cute with it.
Jobert can't get it to drop. Carl Liebert will get the foul. That's 2 on Liebert.
Here on the perimeter, watch 1 shot, watch 2 shots.
Wojcik again has not hit from three-point range tonight, and Robinson can't control the offensive board. Look at Jobert feed him. Foul on the play. He'll go to the line.
The Wolverines in transition, as we said at the top. They're not a blazing team, but they're better when they're running. With the 3 guards, they're very good in the open floor. They're also not a big team, but they're the 2nd best rebounding team in the Big Ten. 2 for 9 from three-point land for the Middies. Michigan 13 for 19, but I think the real story now is David Robinson. He is not playing both ends of the floor.
Bucky, another significant thing. Dave Wojcik has gone to the Navy bench. With 4 fouls, he's going to get a rest. So Navy has brought in backup Neil Fenton, who must fill in. But you can expect Navy, I think, to go back to a zone, huh?
Yeah, well, Fenton's had some big nights, too. He went 6 for 7 against James Madison in the tournament. So he's capable. But what they need right now is ball handling to beat that pressure. Now Grant's going to pick up Fenton. So far, no good for Navy. He was stripped. Boy, the Wolverines are like in a frenzy on that defense. They're looking at Fenton, who's a little insecure with that ball, and it's like Barracudas in a tub. Good night. Wojcik's got to go in there if he's going to play in a wheelchair.
Navy gets the timeout to avoid disaster.
Trying to pick up that foul with the bucket, and there you see the big man for San Diego picks up his 4th foul.
62-59. That is only the 6th foul as a team for San Diego, but the next one will put Auburn in the bonus with under 23 seconds to go. That's in the bonus now. Now if Jeff Moore goes up to the line and sinks one or both of these, they'll be dancing at Toomer's Corner in Auburn, Alabama tonight.
Well, I don't know where Toomer's Corner is, Ralph. I'll take it for your word. It's somewhere in Alabama, though.
It is indeed down in Alabama. 23 seconds to go. They call a timeout on the floor again as San Diego calls timeout. We wish to take this opportunity to thank a lot of people. NCAA basketball.
So that's our situation. The Toreros had a lead of 5 points in the first half of this game. Their big 7-foot center was in foul trouble, so Toreros went to three-point country, began putting it up. San Diego was the regular season champion, the West Coast Athletic Conference, one of the last holdout conferences that did not have a tournament. This year they had a tournament. We thought perhaps, Dick, they might have been on the bubble. They weren't. They come in as the number 9 seed. And Auburn, with that big turnover now, has the ball back. We're going to see, well, we're going to see times out and intentional fouling now coming down the stretch.
Bob, again, we almost had a situation here where they had the ball down 3 that I thought that Auburn should foul deliberately. We have not seen a team yet, I haven't anyway, who has done that, and I just think that's great strategy. I've been preaching this all year. All it will take is one coach, one time to say, baby, I'm going to do it, and I think everyone else. I talked about that earlier today.
Hank Egan's team, and again, the Toreros of San Diego are down. As we get back to the action, they are down by 3. Auburn. And Sonny Smith, as we've heard during the game, he said, I'm going to be there next year. A couple of years ago, remember, Sonny almost left the school. In fact, had tendered his resignation, changed his mind, and stayed in Auburn.
He's the singing cowboy. You know, he's got a great program in terms of winning since he's been there, but the fans just don't flock out. Someone tells me that's pigskin territory. Don't tell it to Wimp Sanderson. I also like to tease him. Alabama is pigskin country, and they have a great, great team, yet they don't sell out for every game.
Okay, let's now get back to Indianapolis. By the way, Illinois leads its game against Austin Peay by 3, but we're going to take you back to Indianapolis now. Ralph Hacker, John Laskowski, the final seconds.
And Auburn's at the line. This is Ralph Hacker again, along with John Laskowski. We have only 23 seconds to go in this game. 62-59. Big free throws for Jeff Moore. And now, San Diego is back in it. 20 seconds to go. The foul was on Auburn. Now, that is 6 fouls against Auburn, so that was probably a pretty smart foul.
It won't put San Diego at the line, and they need 3 points to tie this ball game. You see him taking a huddle there, planning a little strategy. So that'll be their 16th foul. The next team foul would send San Diego for a 1-and-1. So again, that may be the play Sonny Smith decides on, thinking that San Diego could only get 2 points with the free throws.
62-59, 18 seconds to go. That is for 3. It is up. It will not count. There was a foul.
Big rebound for San Diego. Sonny Smith not happy at all because Auburn is a great rebounding team. So now San Diego does get to go to the line. It'll be 2 shots, but they need 3 points to tie the ball game. That's 3rd on Jones.
Jones at 22 points with about 11 minutes to go in the ball game. And then he has only scored a field goal since that. And that was a putback when he did it. 12 seconds to go on this. San Diego goes to their huddle after that timeout.
The strategy is intriguing, Dick. We were talking about that. Now, in the last seconds of a game with a 3-point free throw or the 3-point field goal, if you've got the ball and you're down, you want to take a 3-point play, you've got to set up for a last-second shot every time. You saw what happened there. San Diego set a pick real high, and so the kid came around and had a chance. Otherwise, you're looking at an intentional foul, which is a smart foul in that situation.
I get a kick when you're talking about screens coming over.
Well, you saw what they did.
I want to call you Coach Lee.
All right.
Hey, there are a lot of jobs open. I want to recommend you for those jobs.
Get me a shoe contract.
But I'm going to tell you this. Well, I get you that, too.
Right.
I can show you something. I better not show it. No, hey, Bob, let me just tell you this. There was another example. We almost had an overtime. The kid got the open 3-point shot. They did not foul. Again, I keep screaming. I will stand here and I will do a headstand if somebody fouls. I'll show the people. I'll do a headstand right on here. If they do a, what do you call, a situation where they foul deliberately, let them shoot the 2, cut it to 1, throw the ball in bounds to you, you run out the clock, and we win the game. Give me 5,
All right,
we go to the locker room.
Let's see what happens. Now, last year you promised to quit if Mississippi Valley State beat you.
I got a speaking engagement down there for that.
All right, now, as we get back to the game, it'll be 2 free throws for the team that is down 3, the Toreros of San Diego against Auburn. Now let's get back to that game and see what happens, because even if they hit both, they're in a situation again where they've got to give the foul and hope that Auburn misses. Now let's get back to the Hoosier Dome once again. Ralph Hacker, John Laskowski.
62-59, 12 seconds to go. We'll go back and go to the free throw line with San Diego. The man who goes to the line is Niles Madden. He's a 6'8", 230-pound senior out of Forestville, California. He averages 11.3 points a ball game. He has 6 points this game. He has double figures 17 times this year. He was 3-time WCAC academic all-conference. But he has a big one coming here. He'll have 2 shots coming. Look at that shot. That says it all.
Hank Egan, he's worked hard today.
Niels Matten getting ready to try for 2 shots. He'll have another one coming. He was fouled in the act of shooting by Mike Jones.
It makes the first one. Now look for the full court press as soon as this one goes through, or San Diego has to foul on the rebound.
Auburn has the rebound. And the steal. We've got a foul. The foul will be on Chris Morris with 6 seconds to go. We'll go to the free throw line as Chris Morris commits a very ill-advised foul job.
Long rebound on the free throw. A good trap. And here's the steal. Now, Means hurries this shot. There's still a lot of time left. But there's the foul by Auburn. And that's a 2-shot foul. 2 free throws. Now, watch Hank Egan as he sees what happens.
We have a 1-point game and a chance to tie it up. The game has never been tied. Danny Means has 18. Well more than a 7.6 per game average. Auburn with a rebound. The foul will go on Paul Leonard. Hank Egan says, all right, you've done all right. 5 seconds to go. 62-61. There are many cases this year where with inside 3 seconds, the ball game has been won by the team coming from behind on a shot from about midcourt.
That's what San Diego is going to need now. But Auburn's got the game in control. If they're able to make the free throws, it would still give them a 3-point lead. But you're right, Ralph, still gives San Diego a chance to make that 3-point shot to tie the ball game, sending it in overtime.
At the free throw line is Frank Ford, looking for his 7th point. He averages 13.2. It is no good. All right, 4 seconds. He walked. He hung it on his hip. Couldn't get it back around. What a break for San Diego. Hank Egan couldn't believe it.
Well, Leonard did the right thing. He got the ball down the floor as quickly as he could. Going for that foul. He just carried on his hip. The turnover gives the ball to Auburn.
Tough break for Paul Leonard, the 6', 170-pound senior out of Diamond Bar, California. 62-61. 1 second to go. John, you have got to bet that San Diego, Coach Hank Egan, is instructing.
Now we'll be back here to run the clock out in just a second. Paul Leonard with a traveling violation. Prior to that, Danny Means, the only non-senior in the starting lineup, hits one, misses the second. Tough break for the Toreros, who played very tough. They had a 5-point halftime lead tonight against Auburn. But again, you raised the interesting situation of the intentional foul at the other end by Auburn if you're down 3.
Well, let me give you a case in point. Illinois plays Purdue. Illinois is up 3 at Purdue. There's 4 seconds left in the game. Doug Lee has not hit a basket the entire game. Doug Lee gets the ball, hits a 3-pointer at the buzzer, sends the game into overtime. Ultimately, they win the basketball game. My feeling is if you foul when they put the ball in play, make them go to the foul line and cut it to 1 inbounds and we win the game. Right there, if he made those 2 free throws, it would have been the same situation. Some people are probably going to question why the coach didn't get the timeout and set something up. Many coaches rather do it the way Coach Egan just did it, in a flow of the offense, beat the defense back, and go down and get the layup. Unfortunately for them, the kid walked with the basketball.
Illinois by a deuce over Austin Peay. Seconds to go in the first half. Now let's get the final second ticked off.
We have only 1 second left in this ball game. It'll be Auburn's basketball. You see Niles Matten already out on the floor as Madden wipes off the perspiration from his hands. 1 point difference in the ball game. Auburn just now breaking huddle. Hank Egan has told his ball club, I'm sure, go for the steal. Commit the foul if you have to, but go for the steal. Sacrifice yourself at this point.
Steal and then the quick shot. Only 1 tick on that clock is left. Sonny Smith, a look of concern. Let's see how Auburn sets up.
Steal by Thompson. They'll be dancing at Toomer's Corner in Auburn, Alabama tonight, as Auburn advances on to play the winner of the Fairfield, Indiana game that comes up next here at the Hoosier Dome. Hank Egan congratulates Sonny Smith of Auburn as John Lewandowski gets set to bring him across here. We'll have John Laskowski talking to him in just a little bit. It is a 62-61 final as Auburn down.
So the victory didn't come easy for Auburn. From the Midwest, now back to the East. Navy and Michigan. Let's pick up the final minutes now. Navy on the white, Michigan doing it defensively and offensively tonight. Frank Herzog and Bucky Waters are there.
We welcome you back who've been watching NCAA action around the country. We are in Charlotte. I'm Frank Herzog with Bucky Waters, and we've seen Michigan tonight dominate an 80 team. Take over midway through the first half.
I believe I could dunk it on that one. It's supposed to snap back up, but that's the second time a Wolverine has hit that rim with such authority that it didn't go back up. Well, bring one of those Navy guys out there. Look
Got to get a tall guy to knock it back up.
The judge, Antoine Jobert.
David Robinson, I believe, is going to come out of the ball game. Let's see. Well, listen to the ovation he gets. What a great career for David Robinson. Standing ovation.
Right on the money. Had to wait a little bit for it, did Bob? Number 50. The end of an era.
50 points for number 50. 12 rebounds, 2 block shots, 3 steals. They're on their feet. Meanwhile, they can't get the rim back up. If you're wondering, officials here do have a spare backboard that between games they can haul out and put into place, because this one obviously has got a problem. While they try to get it back up, we'll take a break. 2 seconds left. Michigan 97, Navy 82.
First half.
Illinois leads it by 2, 31-29. 1 tick of the clock left in the first half. Altenberger puts it in. Now Austin Peay. And at the buzzer, it's scored! A three-pointer by Lawrence Mitchell. And this game is tied.
This is just a heck of a play by Austin Peay. We'll see it from the main free throw. Now watch Tony Ray. He's going to get the ball, throws it inbounds. The clock doesn't start till it's touched. Mitchell just turns around and fires and banks it home for a three-pointer.
It's halftime in Birmingham and a tie game at the half.
Lawrence Mitchell, a 6'3" senior, a 22-point scorer this year with the last-second three-pointer. But that's how Austin Peay got into this tournament. In the Ohio Valley Conference Final on Saturday night, we had it live on ESPN. Eastern Kentucky, the opposition, playing in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. This is what happened. The final seconds, Richie Armstrong pulls up from way outside. And that is the shot that put the Governors of Austin Peay into the field of 64. A long shot at a big dream, one of those Butch Cassidy teams. Who are those guys? Those guys are the Governors of Austin Peay, and they're tied 32-32 with Illinois at halftime.
You know, he's drilled more bankers than Bonnie and Clyde. You like that line? I've used that before.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, Austin Peay has a lot of confidence now going into the locker room. Many people thought it would be a blowout early. I did. I thought that Illinois would blow them out. I think Illinois will put a run together. I've seen them do this. Will make some adjustments at halftime, and then Kenny Norman and Altenberger and the gang should have just too much ammunition for Austin Peay.
Before we project Michigan ahead, probably against North Carolina, David Robinson, 50 points tonight. The question, what NBA team is going to make a deal or put all the chips out there on the table and draft him when very possibly David Robinson could sit out 2 years and then become the ultimate free agent for the NBA?
Bob, he's in the greatest bargaining power of any player in the history of the game. I really mean that. For a player of his magnitude with his kind of talent, Red Auerbach is lighting a cigar. Jerry West has got Tinseltown to offer and Magic Johnson. My scenario is simply this. David Robinson will have a 2-year commitment. We know about that, number one. Number two, what will happen, someone will draft him number 1 in the draft next year and then make a deal with either the Lakers or the Celtics, because he can sit there and say, hey, baby, I'm wearing a Laker uniform or I'm wearing a Celtic uniform or I'm going back for 2 years. See what happens. He goes back to the draft again. The following year, he would go back in the draft again if he does not want to sign, and then he becomes that free agent and can negotiate any deal he wants, play in the Olympics, as opposed to Sabonis. Sabonis, a player from the foreign land, over 21 years of age, he remains the property of Portland, not in the case of David Robinson. David, I want to be your agent, baby. I'll get out of television. I'll make everybody happy out there. That's anti-Dickie V. And I'll get out of TV, and I will be his agent in Easy Street, Sunshine, Bradenton, Florida. I'll go down there, sit by the pool, watch my Pirates train, have a great, great time. Bob, get me to be his agent.
All right, okay. Robinson would take 2 years for it all to unfold. Let's plug all these victories today. into the Eastern bracket. Earlier today, Notre Dame with the victory, TCU with the win. They play in the second round, and Michigan moves on. And our next game coming up, North Carolina and Penn. And certainly logic and just looking at the form charts and just common sense would tell you Carolina's going to win that game. But Bruce Lefkowitz and the Penn Quakers will have something to say about that. We'll take a look at the #1 seed in action at about 9:30 Eastern time. It could come down to Carolina and Michigan in the second round, and it's a tough, tough way to go for the Tar Heels. Final score tonight, 97-82, Michigan advancing.
It's a great place to start. By Nike. And by Mitsubishi Motors. Experience the sensation of the full line of new cars and trucks from Mitsubishi.
Congratulations to David. After tonight's game, his final collegiate game for the midshipmen, he had a chance to talk with Frank Herzog.
David Robinson has joined us here at the Charlotte Coliseum. Frank Herzog, Bucky Waters, a 50-point performance tonight, but it just wasn't enough.
Well, we wanted to come out and we wanted to establish ourselves and not let them score too much. And 49 points in the first half is way too much. They hit a lot of good shots in the first half. And second half, I think we broke down a little bit and gave them some easy shots.
What a great career. Any thoughts now as you stand here? You realize the college career is over?
I know I've had a lot of fun. And I think beyond all the awards I get and everything, I was just thinking the biggest thing that's going to stay in my mind about my 4 years in the Navy is my team. I mean, we've been the best of friends throughout the 4 years, and that's made the biggest difference.
It's been a magical experience, hasn't it?
Oh, it definitely has. Definitely has.
David, you look like you got a little tired after that initial burst. I mean, you came out so strong, and it looked like the emotion of it drained you a bit.
Yeah, I think early we were all real pumped up and wanted to come out and wanted to establish ourselves. We got the 10-point lead, and I was a little tired there, and I had to get my second win. Once I got my second win, I was all right.
You know, all that three-point shooting was out of respect for you. They didn't want to bring the ball down inside. Had to be a little frustrating watching all those bombs.
Yeah, they shot real well. Guard Thompson was hitting everything, it seemed like. And you know, that's real tough to recover from those.
David, congratulations on a superb career. A great job for Navy, and I know you're looking forward to a little more basketball along the way.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. David Robinson from Navy. For Bucky Waters, this is Frank Herzog saying so long from the Charlotte Coliseum. Once again, the final score, the Michigan Wolverines 97, the Midshipmen of Navy 82.
That's our score. Austin Peay is led by as many as 7 in this game. Illinois is in the white, Austin Peay in the dark uniforms. Now let's get to Bob Rathman and Dan Bonner.
In Birmingham, Alabama, Lawrence Mitchell goes 1 for 2 at the line, and Austin Peay ups its lead to 6 over Illinois. Bob Rathman and Dan Bonner at the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center, and Austin Peay is taking control here in the second half, and they lead the Fighting Illini 50-44. No harm, no foul. Pardo to the line, firing and missing. Hamilton inside. He puts it in. Oh, Hamilton with 8, and Illinois has cut the Austin Peay lead to 4. It has not been a fluke, Dan Bonner.
No, it has not been. Austin Peay has played very well both on the offensive and defensive ends of the court, neutralizing the tremendous size advantage possessed by the Illini.
Armstrong, Bedford has been outstanding outside. Inside, Lawrence Mitchell scores.
Now, what Bedford's three-point shooting has done is it's caused Ken Norman to have to get out there and guard him, and that creates more room inside for Mitchell, who showed you what he can do in there.
Weisinger plays to Bardo. Weisinger, three-pointer. Missed it. The rebound, Altenberger. He puts it in.
The last 2 times down the court.
Well, you were telling me on our preview show the other evening, Sir Richard, about all the I teams, Iowa and Indiana and Illinois out of the Big Ten. And right now, Austin Peay, the Governors, who nearly beat Kentucky this year in Rupp. They might be a Butch Cassidy team. Who are these guys? Right now, they are leading Illinois.
You got to rub it in, right? You got to remind everybody out there. I'm trying to hide so nobody would remember that I picked Illinois to win, and I'm still going to hang with Illinois to come back in this game.
Okay, we'll be getting further live reports. We'll also be checking in on the game between Central Michigan and UCLA. That game in Salt Lake City is in midway in the first half, and we're standing by for the start of the game between North Carolina and Penn. You'll see that game in its entirety. This entire tournament populated by teams that are having fantastic seasons. The Clemson Tigers have won more games this year than ever before. Head coach Cliff Ellis leading the Tigers to their winningest season ever.
Go meet the basketball. Gonna have to be receivers now. Go meet the basketball. Go meet the ball.
Coach of the year, tucked away in upcountry South Carolina. Cliff Ellis, the head man at Clemson, is getting strong consideration. It's his third year with the Tigers, and after a couple of NIT campaigns, Ellis tuned up the Clemson attack to a top 15 ranking, a serious ACC power. What makes this coach tick?
An aggressive philosophy, being able to get players that like to play the run and press type game, and be aggressive in our style of play, and having young men come in and do that, and having the discipline behind that. And I think that goes a long way, and trying to be positive with the kids, I'd have to say, would be the big factors with our program.
The formula for success includes a strong dose of backbone and discipline. His players seem to welcome it.
He's a very demanding coach. He gets every piece of energy out of you that he can get, and this team respects him for that. He's allowed, the players in this program to do the things they do best and build the confidence game by game.
Fortunately, when we came in here, we had young men that were athletes that could play the way that we like to play. And in the first year, we didn't have a chance to recruit, and those kids adjusted well that were here, and then we were able to recruit on top of that. We have the fortune in college to be able to go out and recruit to your system, but fortunately for us, we had young men that were talented and could also play that style of game when we came.
A couple of hours drive away in Atlanta, Bobby Cremins at Georgia Tech built a national power from the makings of an also-ran, just like Cliff Ellis. Cremins can identify with his ACC neighbor.
Well, Cliff has my vote for Coach of the Year in the ACC this year, along with Dean Smith. But I like his style, and he's really made his mark in the ACC. I thought at first it'd be difficult, but because of the great play of Horace Grant, all of a sudden Clemson is as good as anyone in the country, and Cliff deserves a tremendous amount of credit.
Everything that comes towards me, I have to give credit to the players and our other coaches, because without them, I would be nothing. And it's gratifying from a team standpoint.
Couple of quick updates. Austin Peay's lead over Illinois is only 2 points. UCLA leading Central Michigan by 11. Let's talk about Clemson. You're talking about the need for defense this time of the year, and I know you feel that Clemson certainly has a lock on the offense. They can score. Can they stop you from scoring?
Well, that's their problem, really. And I think another problem is whether or not they get a healthy Grayson Marshall. They played without Marshall, and also Jerry Pryor got injured against Wake Forest. They need a healthy cast. They do not guard well enough to go far in a tournament. And I promise Cliff Ellis tonight, don't make me talk about their cupcake pre-conference schedule.
Don't talk about it. Then don't talk about it. He's not going to talk about the fact that, Cliff, you had the easy schedule. We've got North Carolina in pen. Cupcake is your phrase. Number 1 seed in the East. We'll be giving you that game live in just a second. Forcing a 32-32 tie on a buzzer three-point shot at halftime. Got into this tournament with a buzzer shot by Richie Armstrong to defeat Eastern Kentucky. Are leading this game by 1 point. As we get back to the action now, and you saw how much time was left, Illinois will have the basketball, Dick Vitale, and Illinois will have a chance. They will have to shoot, and so Austin Peay is guaranteed to get this ball back at least one time. Critical turnover there, the traveling violation that Austin Peay committed, so Illinois got it back. Down 1 with the ball.
This is an amazing story. I was so impressed with the way Illinois played. Had them against Michigan. I thought it was the best performance of any team that I had witnessed all year long. Had them against Indiana when they beat Indiana. Can't believe it, but that's the beauty of college basketball. That's why this is the greatest spectacle of all. You can forget about the World Series and the Super Bowl. You take the college basketball tournament of the NCAA, and nothing matches it, and this is the reason.
Okay, now at halftime, by the way, UCLA is leading Central Michigan. This one is a blowout, 53-21, so the Bruins comfortably on top of the Chippewas in that game. 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining in the game. Now let's take you back to Birmingham. Bob Rathman and Dan Bonner on the call on this one. The Governors, who won the OVC championship. They were the 4th place team during the regular season. They got hot down the stretch. They are the 14th seed overall in their region. They lead it by 1, 70 seconds to go, and Illinois got the ball. Bob Rathman?
Bob Rathman and Dan Bonner in Birmingham. 1:10 to play in the Southeast first round game. Austin Peay with a 1-point lead at 66-65. It's Illinois in possession at midcourt.
Illinois called that timeout, Bob. They wanted to make sure that they're going to get a good shot. I would not be surprised at all to see the ball end up in the hands of Ken Norman inside.
Here's the timeout story. Austin Peay with 3, Illinois with 2.
Nice job by Armstrong to keep the ball away from Weisinger.
Spardo in the lane and a steal. Tony Ray picks it off.
And from the time that ball came inbounds, Austin Peay did an excellent job denying the basketball to the places where Illinois wanted to throw it.
Armstrong out front. Weisinger nearly took it away. Here's Tony Ray.
There's 40 seconds on the game clock, 27 seconds on the shot clock.
Austin Peay leading by a point, 66-65. Bedford out front.
20 seconds on the shot clock. So Illinois is going to get it back at least one more time, provided they don't foul. A foul will reset the clock and turn the shot clock off. 9 seconds on the shot clock.
Bedford missed it. The rebound. Illinois got it. Weisinger, 15 seconds. Tony hits it, and Illinois leads. Austin Peay brings it up. Trailing by a point. Armstrong to the corner. 4 seconds. Armstrong underneath. Ray is fouled with 2 seconds to go.
Austin Peay elected not to call the timeout to play against the broken defense, if you will, of Illinois. They nearly paid for it. What a play by Richie Armstrong. He's nearly trapped in the corner, is able somehow to get that ball over to Ray. And now Austin Peay, who has just been miserable all day from the free throw line, has an opportunity to win it down 1.
Lou Henson burns a timeout to let Tony Ray think about it.
Tony Ray, first of all, with the steal as Illinois was trying to set up for the shot. And then Richie Armstrong, who had that miraculous shot to put Austin Peay into this tournament, had the presence of mind, trapped in the corner outside the three-point line to see Tony Ray on the baseline. 2 seconds to go, 2 shots coming. If Austin Peay hits him, they will lead.
What a great pass. That's one of the great passes of the day. Under pressure, under duress, to know the time and to make that pass, as you mentioned, along the baseline and find the open player. And I just can't believe it, Bob. I'm shell-shocked here to believe Austin Peay has taken them to the buzzer and has a great chance to win this basketball game and send Illinois back home.
We opened with the upset way back at noon Eastern time. Let's see, that was almost about 10 hours ago when that game began. Xavier with the victory over Missouri. We saw Auburn and San Diego go right down to the wire. We had Georgia and Kansas State go to the overtime before K-State came away with the victory. And right now, Austin Peay working on it. Now they've got Tony Ray, who is a 6'4" junior on the free throw line with 2 seconds to go and 2 free throws. Bigger upset if Austin Peay wins than Xavier over Mizzou, in your mind?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. This is an upset. Now, this is one time I agree with you guys with that term, UPSET, a major league upset, beating one of the heavyweights of the Big Ten Conference. And everybody's been singing the praises of Illinois since their blowout of Michigan and since their win over Indiana.
Austin Peay, the tiny school out of Clarksville, Tennessee. Let's get back now. Tony Ray is on the line. 2 shots, 2 seconds to go. Illinois leads the game by 1 point.
And comes center stage, trying to put Austin Peay first to a tie and potentially to a lead here with just 2 seconds to go.
Now, you might think it would make you more comfortable knowing you only have to make 1 of 2 to tie, except you don't want to tie in this situation. You want to make them both and be going for the win. And I'll tell you what, if you miss this first one, on that second one, the ball is going to feel like it weighs 50 pounds out there.
67-66, Illinois. 2 seconds to go, and Tony Ray to tie.
Boy, he rattled that one around, but it went in.
Now with 2 seconds to go, Tony Ray has a chance to put Austin Peay
and
ahead.
Lou Henson wanted his team to call another timeout, and they didn't get it in time, and he drops it in the basket.
Timeout, Austin Peay. The Fighting Illini must go 94 feet and score to win the game.
Now, before you...
Wow, wow, wow. 2 seconds to go, so 94 feet facing Illinois. I seem to think back now about an hour. What'd you tell me now? If Austin Peay wins this game, you told me, don't worry, it's a halftime tie score. Illinois will win, and if Austin Peay wins, I'll stand on my head. I'll tell you what, I'm going to start clearing it off the room here, get my charts and stuff out of the way. This could be interesting. I mean, who says the Sullivan Show? Here we go. Oh, my Lord. We're going to get
I've seen it
we're
all
going
out.
to get the producer to take one leg. I'll take the other. We're going to make a wish. Let's talk. We got Indiana and Fairfield early in that game. We'll get you back to the North Carolina game with Penn. UCLA's got a large, very large halftime lead in a blowout. Down by a point.
Illinois 67. The Governors of Austin Peay are on the threshold of a major upset. They lead Illinois 68-67 with 2 seconds to go. Tony Ray, just moments ago, hit 2 free throws to give Austin Peay the lead. Illinois has got the ball. They have to negotiate 94 feet of hardwood to try to pull this one out of the fire.
Well, I guess the ball's not going to end up in Altenberger's hands because he's going to throw it in bounds. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens if Illinois gets it to half court and tries to call another timeout if they're just going for broke right now.
We're back in Birmingham. 2 seconds remaining in the Fighting Illini season, unless they can bury one here with just that amount of time left, trailing by 1. Here's the timeout situation. Illinois has 1 left. Austin Peay's out of timeouts.
Austin Peay is electing not to guard the inbounds pass.
Well, here we go. Everybody on their feet here in Birmingham, and the pass comes to midcourt. Timeout, Illinois, with 1 second to go. So the Illini using their final timeout, and a pass to midfloor, and Bardo. Austin Peay and Lake Kelly wins it, 68-67.
Here we go. Added to the long list of upsets we have seen over the years. Back to the Penn-Carolina game, and Penn is hanging very tough. They've had the lead in this game. We'll get
Night 1 on the road to the Final Four. Navy's David Robinson is named College Basketball Player of the Year. He pours in 50 points, but Michigan's long-range tactical weapons gun down the midshipmen. Down in the southeast, tiny Austin Peay State University was a long shot against Illinois. But when the game of the day was over, the pride of Clarksville, Tennessee waltzed away with a major opening round upset. And good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Nance, along with James Brown. We welcome you to the start of our CBS Sports coverage of the 1987 NCAA Championship Tournament. Coming up, we'll be sending you out to Salt Lake City, where the Cowboys of Wyoming and the Cavaliers of Virginia will tip off their opening round game.
I tell you, Jimmy, all of the Terry Holland critics who were there during the Ralph Sampson years, they can't be found now. Terry Holland has taken a team minus a lot of superstars, and he's molded them into a real team. They've got a great perimeter game, and they feel like they can be giant killers. Wyoming, on the other hand, a good team, a trio of extremely quick guards. They've got a great all-around player by the name of Finis Dembo. He belongs on the all-name team. And a true pro prospect in the middle, 6'11", 260 pounds, Eric Lechner. It's a good one.
All right, Finis Dembo. That is a great name. A couple of scores now. North Carolina, the #1 seed in the East, pounded Penn, although the Tar Heels led by only 2 at halftime. Michigan is next for the Tar Heels. Indiana, the #1 seed in the Midwest, over Fairfield today, and Auburn will be up next for the Hoosiers. In the West, UCLA got 32 from Reggie Miller, and the Bruins will play the winner of this Wyoming and Virginia contest. And again, the upset of the night is worth showing you once again. Austin Peay by a point over Illinois. They'll be flying the Illini flag at half-mast tomorrow after this game. Darrell Bedford scoops Austin Peay in front by 3 in the late going, but actually Illinois led with 2 seconds to go, and Tony Ray had to hit 2 free throws for Austin Peay to put the Governors ahead by 1. Illinois with a chance to win it. They'll go to their main man, Kenny Norman, from the free throw line. His jumper is off the mark. It's a no-go, and the Governors advance on. So the tradition continues in the tournament. The upsets continue. Coming up next, we'll take you to the foothills of the Wasatch Mountains. Salt Lake City for Wyoming and Virginia. We'll see you back here at halftime. Right now, we'll take you to this word from your local station.
brackets. The West Region, the Wyoming Cowboys against the Virginia Cavaliers. Game 4 on the schedule today. Already here earlier, UNLV, the top seed, advanced on into a meeting with Kansas State, which survived an overtime battle against Georgia. UCLA, a short time ago, eliminated Central Michigan. Now we are down to Virginia and Wyoming here. So good evening, everybody, and welcome. I am Brent Musburger. We think you're in for a close, tough, rock'em sock'em game here, but the target of everybody in the West is Jerry Tarkanian, the Shark, UNLV. He's standing by with my colleague Billy Packer. Let's go to them now.
Thanks a lot, Brent. Jerry, everybody talks about your ball club talent-wise, but one of the things you've been talking about is the work ethic of this ball club. This ball club works harder than any ball club I've ever been around, Billy. I think that's why we've been as successful as we've been. In '77, you took a club to the Final Four. They had a lot of similarities, but how would you compare the two clubs? The '77 ball club was
And there's the final buzzer. 28 points for Vernon Maxwell. The guard tandem, the M&M boys of Moulton and Maxwell, came alive with 11 and a half minutes remaining in this ball game to propel the Florida Gators past the North Carolina State Wolfpack 82-70.
So Norm Sloan puts an end to Jimmy Valvano's dream this year very early. 82-70 was the final. NC State had built up a 9-point lead by the midway point of the second half, but then they didn't score for 5.5 minutes, and you see the result. They lose this. Now let's update the East bracket and show you exactly where everyone stands right now. Purdue and Florida have advanced, and as you can see, Florida gets the win over NC State. They join Notre Dame, TCU, North Carolina, and Michigan as those teams that have advanced in the East. Right now, we're going to go to the second half. Georgia Tech facing LSU. LSU has the lead in this one. It's the Midwest Regional. Rosemont Horizon, Wayne Larrabee, and Bob Ortigal are standing by there. Georgia Tech trying to fight back from a deficit. They are down behind LSU.
Wayne Larrabee and Bob Ortigal at the Rosemont Horizon. The Midwest Regional, Oliver Brown missing a pair at the line. Georgia Tech's Tom Hammonds on the rebound. This is Craig Neal. Just been inserted into the backcourt for the Yellow Jackets, who have trailed all the way. LSU had as much as a 12-point lead in the first half. Nikita Wilson off the ball, guilty of a foul.
Craig Neal
picking up his second personal. That is the second of the team.
Craig Neal had a real impact in the first half. We'll see if he has a similar impact here in the second half, Wayne. He came off the bench and played a good floor game, made a couple of good assist passes, really helped in settling Georgia Tech down and helping them to get back from that 12-point deficit.
The impact man of the first half, though, was Darrell Joe of LSU, number 12 for the Tigers. He had 5 3-point field goals, was 5 for 5 from three-point range. Georgia Tech working the ball well, loose down low. The scramble is on, and the jump ball indication, the alternating possession, it'll belong to Georgia Tech.
Good job by the officials. You do not have a jump ball until control is maintained. As long as that ball is loose and people are going after it, the whistle should not blow, and it did not blow.
We have 15:21 left to go. Second half of play. LSU on top by 4.
Gates has put on a tremendous show so far in the first half with 20. Sandel with 2 fouls. They get him back in the game. And UTEP again with their defense, getting the ball loose. Hardaway on the fast break. And UTEP's done an outstanding job of playing good defense here in the first half.
Miners by 4 with the ball. Chief Jackson the fake, the drive, and a block by Joe Turner. And a foul breaking out of the loose ball.
Looks like they're going to get a foul on Richmond.
That'll be his second.
The penetration, watch Turner come from the back on Jackson. Turner gets a piece of the ball, then it comes free. Look at Richmond, and there's the foul. Good call by the official, and that's the second foul on Richmond, so he has 2 fouls. And so does Chris Sandel has 2 fouls.
All right, there's Blocker, Chris Blocker back in the game for UTEP. For those just joining us, Arizona jumped out to an early 9-point lead in this game. But UTEP behind the torrid shooting of Quentin Gates, who made 4 3-pointers. Got back and has had the lead for as much as 5 points in this half. Right now it's 4, and McMillan missing the front end of a 1-and-1, and UTEP has the ball. Quentin Gates averaged 10 points a game this year. He has scored 20 in the first half, including 4 3-pointers.
Sometimes the NCAA tournament brings out the best in you. Blocker inside. That ball was blocked also. Cook he has to have about 4 blocks already in the first half.
McMillan. Judd Bushler. Good bounce down low. We have a whistle inside. Arizona and Texas El Paso will bring you the second half of that game from the West Regional. Right now, back to the Midwest Regional. Rosemont Horizon, Georgia Tech trailing LSU late in the game. Back to Wayne Larrabee and Bob Ortigal.
The LSU personal, 31, Oliver Brown, his third. Timeout taken by Dale Brown. And LSU, the pressure by Georgia Tech with under a minute to go. Has that man a bit concerned, despite the fact his Tigers lead by 5.
Well, Georgia Tech has really extended that defense, been able to get the basketball down here in the last couple minutes, Wayne, and then they've gone to full court pressure. They've gambled more than they have at any point in the game, and they need to do that with the way the clock was getting away from them, but they've done just a great job of climbing back into it. It's 81-76 LSU, and they're going to have to stay with the pressure. What they need right now is a score for this possession.
Oliver second. Ball triggered loose, saved by Farrell. Tied up, Wilson and Neal. And on the alternating possession, it goes to Georgia Tech.
They missed the free throw, get the basketball back. It's tied up by LSU. The alternating possession rule gives Georgia Tech the basketball. They have it out of bounds on the side in the front court.
And that is the story with 49 seconds to go. The Yellow Jackets are right back in it. Greg Neal, number 10 at the point, trying to force it inside. Hammonds is there. Wilson, Nikita Wilson on the rebound. Darrell Joe is fouled right away.
And that's the shot Georgia Tech would want to have. They want to have Hammonds with a basketball inside, and they were able to get it there. Hammonds a fine player, a good shooter. That one didn't go for him, though.
Ryan Oliver picks up his 4th personal foul. Get a look at Bobby Cremins, head coach, Georgia Tech. This team has put together 4 straight winning seasons. That's the best run at Georgia Tech for basketball since the late 50s, early 60s. Darrell Joe after the cool one of the free throw line. Connects on his first. Now 2 out of 3 from the charity stripe, 25 points in the game. A couple of crucial free throws. Well, I tell you what, Bob, these kids have ice in their veins on both sides.
Georgia Tech would like a basket here, and they will immediately call the timeout. He'll get the shot.
Oliver for 3. Greg Neal. Hammonds. The tap by Farrell again. And now Georgia Tech takes a timeout with 23 seconds to go. Farrell stayed right with it. He has 17 points. Georgia Tech still alive with 23 seconds to go. We'll be back. Bobby Cremins, head coach, Georgia Tech. 2 gutty teams going at it here this afternoon in the first round of the Midwest Regional. His team has stood the 3-point barrage by Darrell Joe, who has 7 3-point shots. Dale Brown's team hanging in there, still leading. They had one time led by 14 in the first half. Not long ago, they enjoyed a 10-point lead here in the second half. They are trying to hang on. They lead by 4 now with 23 seconds to go. LSU basketball, full court pressure as expected by Georgia Tech. Neal guilty of the foul. He'll send Darrell Joe to the line.
Georgia Tech and Craig Neal have no choice at that point but to try and go after the basketball. It was a good move, not an intentional foul. It will be a 1-and-1 opportunity. 1 second ran off the clock, so Georgia Tech made the right move there. By the way, Wayne, they do not have any timeouts left. Georgia Tech is out of timeouts.
Darrell Joe, 26 points, 27 points here today. 17 points, 8 rebounds against BYU Hawaii, 14 points, 6 steals against Vanderbilt, his high water marks.
He was averaging 8 points coming into the basketball game. What a great performance by Darrell Joe.
Time winding down on Georgia Tech. This is Neal for 3. Darrell Joe gets it back. 10 seconds to go. LSU, it appears, will advance. Good ball movement as, again, Wilson clears it out. Darrell Joe, they're trying to chase him down. Time winds down, and the LSU Tigers and Dale Brown have done it again for the second year in a row. They have ousted the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. Final score, LSU 85, Georgia Tech 79.
It has not been a good first round for the ACC. Virginia, Clemson, NC State, and now Georgia Tech all gone in the first round. Duke and North Carolina are still left. Now we want to update the Midwest bracket, let you know how things line up right now. There you take a look at the Midwest. LSU will go up against Temple, both winners today. Temple beat Southern. Georgia Tech, a loser to LSU. They joined Duke, Xavier, Indiana, and Auburn as teams that have advanced in the Midwest. So we take a look at how things line up, Coach, and obviously some surprises. LSU, though, a team that has been streaking towards the end. Dale Brown, he lost in the SEC final, but just the same, he's been streaking at the end.
Darryl Jones did a superb job shooting that three-point play. Just an outstanding performance. You know, when the year started, everybody was excited about Fess Irvin. Fess Irvin was supposed to be the answer and a lock for that position for the next 4 years. Darryl Joe, a JC player, comes in, and today he just was absolutely brilliant. I think he had 7 3-point attempts. Made 7 3-point plays, rather.
Okay, let's take a look at the West as we move along. Arizona and UTEP, a game that's underway right now, a game we will join in the second half. They've gone into halftime. 41-39 is now the score. The Miners have the lead. The winner will get to go up against Iowa. There you see the score, 41-39 at halftime. Texas El Paso with the lead over Arizona. That game being played in Tucson. Now, the winner will play against Iowa. Iowa with an easy time of it today, and, well, they should have been. They were up against Santa Clara, and they get the victory in this one. Do the Hawkeyes. Jens Gordon can make the free throw, makes it 4-0 Santa Clara, but here they come. The Hawkeyes said enough is enough. Chris Lane loses the dribble. Kevin Gamble with the steal. He goes in the way for the slam. Iowa on a 22-0 spurt. Bronco coach Carroll Williams. Now, Iowa dominated in every aspect. Jeff Moe misses the three-pointer, but super sophomore Roy Marble is there with the rebound and the hoop. He had 16. The beat goes on for Iowa. Take a look at Al Lorenzen with the half-court steal. Fancy dribble to avoid a backcourt up to the Roy Marble, who soars in, and he dishes off to Gamble. Gamble gets the hoop. He had 18, 38-4 run at that point, put it away. When Santa Clara tried to pressure, Iowa broke it. And here's Ed Horton with the power slam. Bench is all smiles as they look on now. Iowa wins it 99-76 in the West Regional. An easy win for the Hawkeyes as they advance, nearly scoring 100 there. They will go up against either Arizona or UTEP. We'll be back with more in just a moment and checking some more scores and highlights from around the nation. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll have more. And right now, take a look at the final score. LSU with the victory over Georgia Tech, 85-79. In the Midwest this afternoon, a game that's over, Houston and Kansas, a game that Kansas would win to advance on here in this NCAA tournament, and they will advance to face Southwest Missouri State. We'll talk about that one later. Jayhawk fans venture into Atlanta, support of Kansas in the first-round action. Kansas on the move. Cedric Hunter comes up with a steal. He leads the fast break, fakes it to his right, and takes it in with a finger roll for the layup. Kansas bolstered by hot shooting. Kevin Pritchard fires the three-pointer. Kansas led 34-21 at the half. Larry Brown shouting instructions there. Now, Houston's not out of it yet. Ricky Winslow comes up with the steal on a good move, takes his time as he goes in for the monster double-clutch jam. Houston closes to within 7 points, but Kansas extends that lead. Pritchard hits the rainbow jumper, only two-pointer. Pritchard with 17 points to lead Kansas. Danny Manning had a quiet but very effective game, only 12 points. Misses the jump shot, gets his own rebound and puts it in off the glass right there. He had 12. And Kansas with the clincher. Mark Pellick goes backdoor to Cedric Hunter. He gets fouled and still makes a layup. Kansas rolls 66-55 is the final. The Kansas Jayhawks advance. Now, who they advance against might surprise you. Southwest Missouri State, an upset, 65 to Clemson. They oust the number 4 seed, so Clemson is gone. As we told you earlier, a bad day for the ACC, a bad first round for the ACC. So let us check the Southeast bracket right now as we move. You can see that Kansas will go against Southwest Missouri State. Both those teams advancing today. Kansas gets Houston. Clemson, loser to Southwest Missouri State. They join Providence, Austin Peay, New Orleans, and Alabama as they continue in that conference. And you might want to call that one a surprise conference, Coach, as we go, because you have a couple of upsets in there, Austin Peay and Southwest Missouri State.
I definitely feel from day one that conference was definitely the toughest region, rather, the southeast. When you're talking about Georgetown, they got to be a little happy now, as you alluded to earlier, with those teams being beaten. But, you know, you talk about Georgetown, and I think really their big problem is going to be that free throw line before it's all over. I know you and I have been battling about this. You don't agree with me. Kansas is my dark horse. Danny Manning didn't have the great day today, but he's been having the big day when they needed it. And the Kansas fans were letting out their chant, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. And I know you love that chant.
Very quickly, though, what about those upset teams? Austin Peay and Southwest, rather, it's been a long day, Southwest Missouri State.
Southwest Missouri State does it with defense, with discipline, a very dangerous basketball team. Austin Peay, I think they played way over their head, and I think Illinois just did not play good basketball. Lack of intensity, lack of desire. I thought they could turn it on anytime they want, and now they're sitting at home watching the tube instead of lining up and playing tomorrow. But I look for Austin Peay to go bye-bye.
Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. More coming your way on the NCAA tournament today. We'll continue and send it out to the West Regional in just a moment. Stay with us. There's more to come.
Bob and a dunk. They're going back man-to-man. Elliott passed up a shot and a turnover. Good reach.
3-on-2. Blocker all the way. And Blocker ties the game. And so after the timeout, the Miners get back in it. Our 5th tie, and it comes with 2:15 to play. No call as Blocker went down.
Well, they passed up. Elliott passed up the shot, and it cost him. This time he's going to take it in. He's going to draw a foul.
And Gates is gone. Quentin Gates trying to play Elliott man-to-man. Quentin Gates fouls out.
What a game Quentin Gates had, though. 20 first-half points. Finishes with 26.
Now we had a technical foul. I don't know where the technical foul. Technical foul on Gates as well. So Gates fouls out with 2:05 to play, and he gets a technical. We're talking to the referee.
Not a good time to do that. I mean, at the score tied 71, you compound your mistake by making a foul, then saying something to the official. So Arizona with a golden opportunity now, not only to shoot a technical, but to shoot 2 free throws and get the ball out of bounds.
Sean Elliott, 78% foul shooter. And this can really hurt the Miners, who had pulled back even. But this could turn out to be a 6-point possession for Arizona.
If they hit the 3-point shot, well, now it's not going to be a 6. Elliott makes one, misses one. Now the technical.
Well, there's a big break for UTEP as Elliott misses 2 out of 3 foul shots. Arizona will get the ball back, but Gates is fouled out.
Well, Gates picks up the foul on this sequence when he fouls Elliott. Then he turns around and says something to the official right there. Then the technical.
All right, we're under 2 minutes. Arizona by a point with the ball. UTEP starting forwards have both fouled out. Chris Sandel and Quentin Gates. And we have a foul here. And Wayne Campbell has fouled out. And I think what Quentin Gates was complaining about was that UTEP has had so many shots blocked at their end of the floor by Arizona today, and they're not getting fouls there, that they want that call at the other end. It's understandable in an NCAA game, but they're remembering these are the best referees in the country.
No, I think the game's been well officiated. Campbell just was going for the ball that time, and they're playing very aggressive, and he did make some contact, so Campbell picks up his 5th foul.
So 3 UTEP forwards, Chris Sandel, Quentin Gates, and Wayne Campbell, have all fouled out. And UTEP is now going deeper on their bench than they want to. They're going to a new man, Antonio Davis, a freshman from Oakland, California, in for the first time. He's number 34. Anthony Cook, though, who's the weakest Arizona foul shooters at the line with 1:53 to play, and his team up by a point.
And the free throw line may cost Arizona. They missed some opportunities. Cook gets this one down, but Elliott missed 2.
Arizona now 22 out of 32 at the line. UTEP is 11 for 15. Ray Cook, 2 huge foul shots, and the Wildcats lead by 3. 1:50 to play. Chris Blocker. Good pass inside to Richmond. Blocked by Cook again.
It's about 7. Cook's got so many blocks. But again, Blocker with the penetration. Richmond gets it blocked. Now Arizona's going to try to run some clock, and they'll pick up a foul. And that was not on Jackson, it's on Hardaway.
He's the only UTEP starter not in foul trouble or fouled out. Hardaway's second. Here's Cook, the leading shot blocker in the Pac-10 this year.
Well, he's not only a fine jumper, but he has long arms, and you underestimate his jumping ability. And Richmond that time took it in, but just Cook went up and knocked it off the glass, and not only made the block, but gained possession of the ball, which is very important. No need to knock it out of bounds. Get possession so your team's got a chance to score.
Lofton gets the roll, 75% foul shooter. Now with 90 seconds to play, Arizona can open up a 5-point lead.
And it becomes a must-score possession for the Miners to get the ball. They need to come down here and score.
And UTEP, by our count, has only 1 timeout remaining.
Arizona's got to extend the defense a little bit because you know UTEP's going to be looking three-pointer.
Jeep Jackson. Richmond. And Richmond gets a big hoop. Still a lot of time. With 1:10, and it's a 3-point game.
Richmond's had a great second half. He's got 10 points in the second half and 14 for the game. Arizona now with 1 minute to go need to run some clock. And I think UTEP may have to look to make a foul. If Cook gets the ball, if Turner touches the ball, you might want to make a strategic foul down 3. This is not the guy to foul because he made the last 2. Lofton's a 75% free throw shooter.
But Cook was not going to come near the ball either. He's going to run away from it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Cook did go away from the ball, but you think you might take your chances maybe on some of the other guys, but you never know when you get down to the wires. Guys that shoot free throws very well sometimes go to the line and miss them.
And the other thing, of course, there aren't many Miners to give fouls. Hardaway is 1. That was only his 3rd. 50 seconds. Lofton, 75%. Well, he's getting some favorable bounces on that rim.
Those are what you call shooter's bounces. You know what I mean, Ted? When you're a good shooter and the ball doesn't go in pure, you say, I'm a great shooter, and the ball always goes in for me and knocks around the rim 4 or 5 times. When it goes out, you're a lousy shooter.
Look at, he's been all over. He touched every part of the rim on those 2. 5-point lead. Blocker for 3. And they fouled him on the shot. Well, that would have been a 4-point play had the shot gone. Sean Elliott called for the foul on the 3-point attempt, and that's his 3rd foul.
Ill-advised foul by Sean Elliott that time. He just wanted to go straight up to cause some problems. Instead, he went into Blocker. Blocker shot the attempt from the 3-point range and was fouled. And what this does, too, Ted, it stops the clock. With 44 seconds to go, it gives UTEP a chance to regroup, make some free throws, and then go ahead to get back in their press and look for a foul.
All right, we have a timeout, this time called by Lute Olson in the Arizona Wildcats. In Tucson, we have 44 seconds remaining and a timeout on the court. With the score, Arizona 78, UTEP 7. There you see our scenario in Tucson, 44 seconds left. Arizona leading UTEP by 5. The Miners' Chris Blocker will be at the line as we return to shoot a 1-and-1.
Needs to get these 2 down, get into the press, make a foul, and not let too much time elapse. With the 3-point shot, there's still time, but Arizona's going to have to help them by missing some free throws.
Now, Tom Tolbert back in. He hasn't played in a long time because of 4 fouls. He replaces Joe Turner. So let me correct myself. This is a 2-shot foul for Blocker here. And UTEP needs them both. Unfortunately for UTEP right now, their best 3-point shooter during this day, Quentin Gates, has already fouled out. He made 4 3-pointers in the first half. One timeout left for the Miners. They're down 4. Lofton to Tolbert.
Need to look to make a foul. Doesn't matter on who. McMillan's got to bring the ball out.
And again, the man who had the fouls to give does it, Tim Hardaway. He is now to 4. And McMillan will go to the line with 36 seconds left. And Dan, there's a guy sitting right a row behind us who's got to be watching this with a lot of interest right now. Dr. Tom Davis, whose Iowa team will play the winner of this game Sunday. If it's Arizona, we have a timeout called by the Miners now, which is their last. Now, if Arizona holds on to this lead, it'll be Iowa and Arizona here on the Wildcats home floor Sunday. A month ago, Tom Davis brought his Hawkeyes here and won. Can he do it? He's got to be thinking those odds are tough to do that twice in 1 year.
Well, I think Iowa's an outstanding team. They proved that, but they demolished Santa Clara. Santa Clara got the first 4 points of the game, then Iowa ran off like 24 straight points. And if it is Arizona, that should be an outstanding game on Sunday. And I really think it's going to be a game that's going to go down to the wire. I don't think Iowa's going to blow them out. I think Arizona's going to come out knowing that they beat them on their home floor. And Dr. Tom Davis, as you see right there, they were behind by 8 or 9 points dead in the second half to Arizona. Then all of a sudden they put on a streak and they ran off like 15 points in a row and won the game. But it's a game that could have gone either way.
Best thing that happened to Iowa today was that their starters didn't break a sweat. 4 of their 5 starters only played 18 minutes, so they should have no fatigue problems for their game on Sunday.
No, I'm sure they're going to be well rested, where Arizona's had to expend every bit of energy they could muster to get by the Miners, and they haven't got by them yet. I mean, there's still 36 seconds to go and some free throws that the Wildcats will have to make. But the Miners, if it wasn't for the foul situation, and give Arizona credit, they did punch the ball inside and drew a lot of fouls. The game started with Chris Sandel picking up his 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes, and that typified the way the game would go for the Miners.
76% on the year for McMillan. 0 for 1 in this game from the line. 36 seconds left, Arizona by 4. And hope for the Miners. Blocker with the ball. Pulls it inside the arc. Jeep Jackson, that's a 3. That's a 3, and it's a 1-point game with 23 seconds left.
Still a long way to go in this with a 1-point game now. Great shot by Jackson to bring it back. Arizona's got to get it over and hold on. The turnover.
And that ball goes to UTEP. They have no timeouts left, but the Miners now have a chance to win with 14 seconds left. And it was their defense that forced that turnover.
Unbelievable turn of events with a 3-point shot. Now if they're going to run it all the way down, there's 10 seconds. They got a chance to win it at the buzzer. Hardaway.
Antonio Davis. Charging foul on Antonio Davis with 6 seconds to play. 6 seconds, and the freshman, Antonio Davis, who just came in the game, called for a charging foul.
Hardaway had the penetration that time and a chance to win it. He drew the defense, gave it up. You can't fault him for the pass and the play. Davis tried to take it in strong. Good position that time by McMillan. Look at McMillan. He's got the hand behind the head saying, I want the charge, and he got it. Now they're going to get a quick foul. It looked like the ball wasn't even inbounded, and if that's the case, Ted, it'll be a 2-shot foul.
That's it. Hardaway tackled Ken Lofton before the ball was inbounded. The Hardaway fouls out with 6 seconds to play, but I'll tell you what, you have to give that young man credit right there, because with his team having a chance to win the game, he made the play he had to. Penetration and a dish for what could easily have been the winning basket.
He did an excellent job, and give Hardaway and Don Haskins Club a lot of credit, because they've been playing the whole second half in foul trouble and still make a 3-point shot, get a turnover, and a chance to win a game. How much more can you ask?
Well, this
game's not over yet. Still got 6 seconds left. Even if he makes both throws, UTEP's got a chance to come down and go ahead and look for the 3-pointer. So Arizona better extend their defense if he makes it. And he did.
All right, now it's 6 seconds. UTEP has no timeouts, but they will have a chance to, at worst, tie the game.
Well, if they miss this, they have a chance to win the game.
Here we go. Let's watch it. Blocker. UTEP has it, and UTEP has beaten Arizona. A 3-pointer.
I don't think they called.
No, let's wait. Let's wait.
He did not go with the 3-point signal. They're saying it's a 2-point shot. It's overtime.
2 points. Yes, you're right, and it is overtime. The Miners thought they won the game. The scoreboard operator thought they won the game. But it's a 2-point basket by Chris Blocker. And we have overtime. now the UTEP people are on the floor. They still think they won. Let's wait and see. Haskins is arguing. I believe Dick Paparo called it a two-pointer. Let's watch.
And I thought it was a two-pointer. That's why I was surprised to see everybody out of there. There's the make, and then Blocker's going to bring it down and go right up with the jumper. Watch where his feet are. His left foot was over the line.
No question. Left shoe on the line. It's a two-pointer.
Drilled that one straight home. McMillan calling for the timeout. Of course, time has expired. What a game today. The NCAAs,
wow.
As the Miners, give them all the credit in the world. They've had a lot of adversity to overcome, Ted, and they tie it at 79 all.
That man feels like Lazarus right now. He was buried 4 or 5 times in the last minute, and he has life. The score at the end of regulation time is Arizona 79 and UTEP 79. We'll have overtime.
Down 5, they need a three-pointer and a timeout immediately. So they need to score right now, or this one, they're going to go inside and stay the cook. Now they need to get a timeout quick.
Well, that's it. Anthony Cook the lay-in, the timeout for Arizona. That used only 6 seconds, and it's a 3-point game. 92-89 UTEP.
And I'm sure Don Haskins is going to spend a lot of time in this particular timeout to make sure that Jackson is the one who receives the basketball, and he's the one that controls it, because I'm sure he wants him going to the line, where Lute Olson's going to say to his club, we can't afford the luxury of waiting. Let's look to get it, make the foul on the first guy that handles the ball when it comes in, look to double up, go for a steal. But if you don't get it, don't let him waste a lot of time.
All right, now if you're UTEP, the 2 people you don't want to touch the ball are the freshman Davis and the sophomore Stallworth. I'm sure both off the numbers, neither's a good foul shooter statistically, and the fact that they've never been in this type of situation before.
And I'm sure that's what they're mapping out right now at that timeout. They're going to design an inbound play. One thing that always worries you, Ted, is when you're calling out of bounds in this situation, you have to make sure you get the ball back in. It's not as easy as it looks, because you know the other team's going to overplay and take a lot of chances. So UTEP may design something where they can send a man long. If the long isn't there, then go ahead and get it in. And you look to go long the first time, because Arizona may be so far up on the ball that nobody takes the man going to the basket, and sometimes you can lob over the top and go in for an easy score.
All right, UTEP will have to inbound on the baseline and backcourt. The 2 men I'm sure they want to touch the ball are Jackson and Blocker. Arizona brings out same 5 players, no change. 39 seconds, 92-89 UTEP.
I'll tell you one thing, Davis isn't going to touch the ball because he's all the way to the other end of the floor. He's not even involved.
Richmond to inbound. Just gets it in, and the foul. So they got it to Blocker, one of the 2 players that you would think UTEP wants to have the ball. Foul is on Sean Elliott. That is his 4th foul.
Well, Chris Blocker, as you take a look at Lute Olson in the Arizona bench, coming off the bench, has shot more free throws than anybody else. So Blocker's a guy I'm sure that Don Haskins wanted to the line, 74% free throw shooters. And what he's saying right now is, please make these free throws as you get these 2 in. And it's going to be difficult for Arizona to come back. Well, they've made every big shot. The Miners just seem like a team that cannot be denied, because they seem to make the big one at the end and just come out of nowhere to tie it and bring it into overtime, and they played an outstanding overtime.
There's Blocker's story. He has 10 points. Well, it misses a second. It's a 4-point game. UTEP the lead. Arizona the ball. Looking for 3. And Jackson. Oh, did he touch it? They say no. Now let's see if they overrule.
This is good officiating if they do, because it was obviously off the UTEP player, but the official closest to the play was screened out. Now they're going to call it. Looked like it was off the UTEP.
Well, the 3 officials conferred. At least they did the right thing there. They conferred. Lute Olson can't believe it. It happened right in front of him, but the ball comes to UTEP with 30 seconds left. If it didn't go off Jackson, it was an optical illusion, because we were right on the angle.
Yeah, it definitely hit you, but they may have been screened out on that play, and what they probably said was, we didn't see it, and the referee closest to the play made the call, and this could be a turnover. Now the clock doesn't even start, and UTEP returns the favor by making a turnover and giving the ball right back. They could get the ball in bounds.
This is like the old playground days, Danny. Last team with the ball wins, right? Arizona down 4. Elliott, his cross-court pass stolen by Richmond, and then Richmond is fouled as he races up the floor. So, 3 consecutive turnovers, and it will wind up with 24 seconds left. UTEP at the line, although Mike Richmond, the man you're looking at, he's only a 61% foul shooter.
Lute Olson very frustrated because his team has not been able to get shots up. Elliott that time tried to penetrate and give it up at the quick hands of UTEP, and they've had their quick hands on so many balls here this afternoon. Comes up with another steal, and Richmond will go to the free throw line. He's played a tremendous game. He's been the guy in the second half that's made the big baskets. Good shooting touch for a left-hander. Falls off of that line, but he's a nice shooter, and he's got about 15 second half points.
24 seconds. UTEP by 5. And by 6. But after regulation, nothing's in the bank yet. Lofton, three-pointer. Didn't get there. And down court to Stallworth, and he is fouled by Lofton. With 16 seconds. And now, if Stallworth can hit some foul shots, you might put this one in the bank for UTEP. Lofton fouls out of the game with 16 seconds left. The man that Arizona wanted, I'm sure, to get that three-point shot was McMillan. They couldn't get the ball to him.
Couldn't get it to McMillan. Lofton shot it a little short, and he made some big free throws in the second half, but not enough free throws for Arizona. They had their chances to put away in the overtime. You gave the Miners a second chance to come out and try to win it, and they took advantage of it because Jeep Jackson took the game over, made some big shots. Very disconsolate Arizona team.
Look at that. And the man, the blonde-haired man you saw first with his head down in his hands was Steve Kerr. With Steve Kerr, Arizona may have been able to, there you see Kerr. Look at that scar on his right knee. That's what he did in the World Championships last year in Spain. Steve Kerr, an all Pac-10 guard last year, hopes to play again next year. Lute Olson said we would have won 4 games that we lost if Steve Kerr had been with us this year. And this has to be an incredibly frustrating moment right now for Arizona. A game they feel they should have won in regulation, and UTEP now leads by 7 with 16 seconds left in overtime.
And of course, they tried to get the regionals here this year so that they knew Kerr would be, everybody would be ready to go and healthy, and Kerr was injured. So maybe things didn't go right from the start for the Wildcats as they try to get one in and call a timeout, but with only 8 seconds left and down 5. The Miners in great position to advance and play the Iowa.
Obviously, the clock never started. Something went wrong there with the clock because there were 2 dribbles taken and the clock never started.
That's what Don Haskins is going to tell him. He's going to make sure he stays in the coaching box. So you don't want to pick up a technical. Now, just stay within the coaching box and kind of yell to him. The official will not come over to him. He's got to motion him over. The official say, no, that's okay. I'll just stay in the middle of the court.
The foul there was on Sean Elliott. That is his 5th. And Sean Elliott fouls out after a superb effort. 26 points for Elliott. He had 17 in the second half, 2 in the overtime. Of course, we must also remember that they can use instant replay this year in the tournament to correct clock malfunctions. That's a byproduct of the Kansas-Michigan State game a year ago, but apparently they're not going to do that here.
Well, only 2 seconds elapsed, and you would have thought there'd be more than that. Doesn't seem to matter because Blocker's going to go ahead and put the free throw down with a 97-91 lead. It's improbable and impossible for Arizona to come back right now.
Well, those people were very close to going home. But now the Miners going to keep their hotel rooms and stay in Tucson to play the Iowa Hawkeyes on Sunday.
That's one thing about NCAA tournament games. You never know. You can remember back when NC State won it. Same thing happened. They won a lot of close games. And the NCAA champion, Ted, has come out of the West the last 3 years. So you got Louisville last year, then Georgetown, then NC State, and they all came out of the West, and the West is loaded again. So a lot of good teams are going to be moving up. And the Miners will pick up a win that was almost snatched away from them, but an impressive overtime performance by UTEP.
You see the jubilation, and Don Haskins pulling one out that he probably doubted he could in the final seconds. The UTEP Miners in overtime defeat the Arizona Wildcats in this first round West Regional game, 98-91.
A hardwood version of Gone with the Wind. It's finally over. UTEP wins it. The second team playing on a home floor so far in this tournament has lost. UAB last night in Birmingham and Arizona this afternoon. Here, Southwest Missouri State. Tight first half against Clemson. Larry Middleton with the steal for Clemson. Clemson leads it by 3, but the Bears of Southwest Missouri State take in control. Winston Garland hits the jumper. Clemson then mishandles the inbounds pass, and the Bears are able to get it back, and they take advantage of the turnover. Clay Holt here from three-point country won't connect, but Kelby Stuckey with the offensive rebound fakes it 3 times and powers it in. The Bears up by 5, and they're not afraid to bomb away against Cliff Ellis' team. Stuckey drives, it's blocked. Garley grabs that loose ball, and three-point country puts it down. Clemson is defeated 65-60. Charlie Spoonhour, the head coach of Southwest Missouri State. Southwest had a tough one in the final against Cleveland State in the Mid-Continent. They came in at large, and I think if there are any lingering questions about the quality of ball in this conference, they're gone.
I really like the kid Winston Garland. I think he's one of the best-kept secrets in America. Just an outstanding guard. I mean, he can score, he can pass the basketball, outstanding defender, and that team plays defense, and they have discipline. And with defense and discipline, you always have a chance to win. We have another interesting matchup later tonight. When Tulsa plays Oklahoma, you're looking at the team that plays with ball control, Tulsa. You're looking at great defense against a team that wants to R&R it, rip and run. And that was the similarity, as you and I were talking off the air, with Southwest Missouri State and Clemson. And usually at tournament time, you know who prevails?
That's right. You got to stop them.
Discipline and defense.
That's right. And in fact, Horace Grant was held to only 2 points in the second half of that game, the Clemson center in the Clemson Southwest Missouri State game. Arizona's at home but has the dark uniforms on because they are the lower seed. Early second half, Lofton shot off target. Sean Elliott puts it home. Wildcats on their home floor leading it by 3. Later on, Craig McMillan. Little alley-oop to Elliott. Arizona by 4. Late in regulation now, UTEP down by 4. Hernell Jeep Jackson, 3-pointer. Lute Olson's squad leading just about all the way in the second half, though, and UTEP is down by a deuce. Seconds to go. Chris Blocker takes it down, just steps on that line, so it's only a 2-pointer. 79 apiece on to overtime. UTEP down by a deuce. Jeep Jackson again, 3-pointer. And the Miners up by 1 point. Then Jackson here comes up with the steal from McMillan, takes it all the way for the layup, and the Miners winning it 98-91 in the overtime. El Paso regular season champions of the Western Athletic Conference. And I know, Dick, some folks are going to say now, okay, UAB lost on their home floor last night, blown out by Providence. Arizona had the home floor, couldn't win a tight overtime game. So what's the big deal about the home floor? I know what you're going to say, but say it.
Well, Bob, I'll tell you what, anybody that has that kind of mentality doesn't know basketball or doesn't have to line up with a team and be on the opposing bench. No question the home court means something. On a neutral, Texas El Paso might win easy. However, I'll tell you this. Arizona, going to put the heat on them right now. Look for Lute Olson's basketball team to dominate the Pac-10 next year. Great recruiting class, 2 6'10" kids, Mark Georgeson, kid by the name of Sean Rooks, outstanding guard coming in. They get back Kerr in the backcourt, return all their players. I look for Arizona to be a top 15 team in America. And you mentioned Haskins, 5 consecutive league championships.
Incredible.
The guy can coach. Did you see who was on his bench? Tiny Archibald.
That's right.
And another guy by the name of Norm Ellenberger.
Coach of New Mexico, and that's the school got in the news late in the 70s. So you got a situation where Arizona matches up there. You've got Lute Olson going up against Iowa. You've also got a situation with Benny Dees, the UNO coach, coaching against Alabama. Guys that know the programs against which they'll be coaching.
Well, Lute Olson won't get his chance against Iowa. He thought he was going to get his chance against Iowa, but it's not going to be a reality because it's going to be Texas El Paso. Hey, coaching, can we give a coaching rumor right now? Do we have a chance? I'll tell you what, Fordham University, there's been all kinds of reports.
All right.
Jimmy Lynam of the 76ers, forget about it. The guy for that job, Brendan Malone, assistant coach of the New York Knickerbockers, would be a great asset to the Fordham program. Frankie McLaughlin, hire Malone, baby. He's a winner. Because I'll tell you what, Peter Gillen said no, Lefty Drizel said no, and now Lynam, Malone would take that job and he would win. Maybe make you an assistant coach.
No, I don't like to travel and
you
recruit
would be
like
a great
that.
assistant.
Let's
I like
complete
the way you dress, too,
Let's
man,
complete the scores in the
J.J. Quall, West Virginia in white.
Yeah, here's a problem for West Virginia. Not a good free throw shooting, but you want something close. That's their philosophy.
Little give and go, won't go, and a whistle out front.
Not bad when you think of who's going to go to the free throw line.
Now the man who has been able to capitalize on only 39% of his free throws on the year, Darrell Prue.
And now I'm sure that Gail Catlin, we talked about missed free throws, talked about tipping the ball back. They have to be alert on the offensive end. And of course, with the poor free throw shooting of Darrell Prue, you see all 5 Hilltoppers, and they better be ready to squeeze and take the shooter.
Prue now, look at that, not even close, and the Hilltoppers have it. Inside a minute, 45 seconds to play.
Right now, you'll probably go down as far as they can. Of course, different coaching philosophies now. A lot of guys are letting the team set up and stay on the floor, not calling the timeout. Others like to get it to 12, call the timeout.
21 seconds on the shot clock, 24 seconds on the game clock. McNeil.
Still a triangle and 2.
McNary tries the right wing, goes baseline to McNeil.
They got man-to-man. Everybody matched up.
4 seconds on the shot clock. Tellis Frank, is it up in time? Yes. Rebound to Johnson, and it is rejected out of bounds. Western Kentucky will have it with 3 seconds remaining in regulation. And Murray Arnold, oh my, he wants a timeout.
Darrell Prue recovering, helping out his club with that block.
3 ticks to play. Don't you dare go away. We're tied at 62 apiece.
Oh,
right underneath. Will it go? Yes.
Darrell Prue fell asleep and let him step in front of him.
Kennard Johnson has just won it for the Hilltoppers. What an inbounds for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers.
And you just saw Kennard Johnson sneak in front of Darrell Prue. Fell asleep for a moment. Tough way to finish the West Virginia season. There's another shot at it. Oh, what an athletic move, reaching back.
And Bill, it is very, very fitting that the game would end on an inside shot. Very, very tough. That's where it was played all night long, and that's where the victory comes. They'll be dancing on the riverbanks in Bowling Green, Kentucky. The final score, Western Kentucky 64. They'll move on. The Mountaineers of West Virginia 62. Giving Western Kentucky, a team that has been in the top 20 way back early in the season and lost a very tough game at home to Louisville. 64-62, Western Kentucky wins, gives them the right to take on the winner of the game between Syracuse and Georgia Southern. That game being played in Syracuse, so you might want to pencil in but not ink it in yet, as a Syracuse-Western Kentucky second-round game. Wow, I mean, 3 seconds to go. A little, yes, the defense fell asleep, and there it was, the gamer.
Bob, I'll tell you one thing. That's what makes coaches lose their hair, and that's what puts you into the TV booth, because what a mental breakdown right there by their baseline people. The first thing you teach along that baseline entry is you close off any play in front of you. What happened there, Prue was staring at the basketball and lost sight of the man in his area of the floor. You must see ball and man at all times defensively.
Ball, you, man, the old defensive philosophy. You've been teaching me
Alabama.
that. That's right, and it works. It didn't work that time for West Virginia. Kennard Johnson putting Western Kentucky and first-year head coach Murray Arnold and longtime head coach with Tennessee Chattanooga, first year in Bowling Green, into the second round. We'll be back. Carolina State, are they a team of destiny? Well, they went up today against Florida. Norm Sloan, the former NC State coach, now running things at Florida. The Gators' first ever NCAA game. Wolfpack playing well. Del Negro from Shackelford. And Jimmy V's team hanging in, but the Gators. Vernon Maxwell had been a questionable starter. Well, he questionably had 28 points today. Early in the second half, the Wolfpack made a strong run again. It's Vinny Del Negro from Springfield, Mass. Drives the lane, dishes it in. State's leading it by 9 points. But the Gators turn it around defensively. Andrew Moten here with a steal. Drives in. He had 19. The M&M boys, Moten and Maxwell, and Jimmy V is watching a 10-point run against his side. Florida looking backdoor, Dwayne Shincius. Little pick, little roll, little pass, big basket. 82-70, the final score. Florida with the victory. So NC State, which got to this entire tournament by winning the ACC postseason tournament, is knocked out. Florida moves on. They will play Purdue. Purdue with the victory today over Northeastern, 104-95, as Doug Lee had a career-high 29 points in that game. Let's update you now on where we stand in the Eastern bracket, looking at the games that were played today. Florida advancing with a victory over NC State, and also Purdue advancing past Northeastern. Western Kentucky
has advanced with the win over West Virginia. Syracuse and Georgia Southern yet to play. So a quick look at these. Now, Dick, that Purdue game took a long time to play. A lot of games are taking a long time to play now. And you had an interesting suggestion. Maybe pro ball should enter the college rule book in one respect.
Bob, I really do. I believe at the end of the game, for example, you see a number of teams, they're behind. They score. They immediately scream timeout. I don't think a team that is on the defensive end after the score should be allowed to call the timeout because the games are taking an eternity at the end and it becomes nothing but boredom. But you know what happens, Bob?
What happens?
Little stubbornness between people out there, between the guys that make the rules on a collegiate level and the guys on the NBA level. In other words, for example, rather than simply sitting down as grown people and saying, let's do what's good for the game of basketball, some egos get involved and they say, no, baby, they do that in the NBA and we're not going to do it that way. Another NBA rule I like is the fact that when a game in the last 2 minutes, you have the option to take the ball at midcourt as opposed to the baseline. Now, that adds excitement. Ed Stites, do you hear me?
I think he does. He's been hearing you all year about the three-point
You
field
think he'll buy
goal.
me a dinner when I go up to Springfield next week?
I think so.
He better reach down and buy me a dinner. I'm giving that guy more publicity. I also announced, I told Tarkanian, forget about picking a Most Valuable Player award.
All right.
The MVP, the gold trophy, should be shipped to Ed Stites for getting that three-point shot in the game of basketball with his rules committee, because that has made the Running Rebels a super, super team.
I'm almost three-point distance away from the rest of the Eastern bracket. Let's turn back now to the rest of the other night. We had Jerry Tarkanian on our special, and also we had a chance last night to watch the music video, Walking Like a Tarkanian. A little surprise now sent into us from UNLV to our staff Armenian. A little your own. Get a nice shot of it here. Walking Like a Tarkanian, the official Walk Like a Tarkanian shirt for you, so you can wear it with pride and chew on a towel and walk like a Tarkanian.
I'm going to chew like another wacko like he is. Unbelievable. What a wacko in sports. Thank you very much.
Wear it with pride. I know you
appreciate
will.
that.
Heading
really
to your
do.
growing collection of memorabilia. Jerry's team plays tomorrow. The Tarks team #1 in the polls, #1 in the West. We've got Kentucky and Ohio State keeping an eye on a very tight game between Wichita State and St. John's as well. We've got a report coming up next. First time all year, one loss sends you home without the proverbial tomorrow and with the whole basketball world watching. Small schools often rise to these big moments. Right out of the box yesterday, the Musketeers of Xavier showed Missouri that the champs of the Midwestern Collegiate Conference were the equals of the Big 8 regular season champs. Xavier was in the tournament for the second straight year. Byron Larkin went to town on the Mizzou Tigers. He had 29 points, and Xavier won by 1.
Campbell makes a save. Larkin. No good, but Xavier holds on to win in a frantic last few seconds.
Within an hour of that game, New Orleans played its first ever NCAA tournament game. The Privateers went in as favorites, lost the lead they had built, but kept their composure against Brigham Young to rally and win their 26th game.
And BYU has no timeouts.
And all alone down the floor is Liddell Eccles for New Orleans for the jam to put it away.
The big deal of the day in Birmingham last night, the Governors of Austin Peay against Illinois. Now remember, this is how Austin Peay got to the NCAA tournament Saturday against Eastern Kentucky.
Richie turns with 2. It'll go. It's good!
And this is how the Governors drew to a 32-all halftime score last night against mighty Illinois.
Now Austin Peay. And at the buzzer, it's goal! A three-pointer by Lawrence Mitchell. And this game is tied.
So little wonder that down the final minutes against the Illini, Lake Kelly's team kept its cool and a 1-point win, the biggest upset. Until the Bears of Southwest Missouri State showed Clemson why they lead the nation in field goal defense. Irresistible force, immovable object. The Bears were able to hold that Tiger and hold Horace Grant, Clemson center, to only 2 points in the second half. Last year it was Cleveland State. This time around, Southwest Missouri State, capturing a win and the essence of the first round of this tournament. It gets hairier every year, and you see the upsets coming. These small schools come in, nothing to lose and not a lot of pressure. I know you say it doesn't always happen that way, but there's always that possibility. Regardless of who wins the St. John's-Wichita State game, it really wouldn't be a big upset, but it's a very tight game. Inside now, 7 minutes to go. Let's go to the Rosemont Horizon outside Chicago. Wayne Larrivee and Bob Orticle.
Marco Baldi for the Redmen has 9 points now, and St. John's pulls into a tie with Wichita State. We continue to seesaw in this second half of play.
St. John's stays with that man-to-man defense.
Tell you what, Coach, it's been like a chess match, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Half-court game.
8 times this game has been tied.
Not your run-and-gun type basketball. It's execution on the half-court. Radunovic against Baldi, and the foul on Marco.
Good job by Radunovic abusing his body against Baldi. Baldi's bigger and stronger.
Second personal on Baldi.
Good interior feed right there. Number 14, Baldi, commits the foul against 45 for Wichita State. Sasha Radunovic, pretty good free throw shooter.
I guess he is. He's hit 5 in a row here tonight. As I mentioned before, about a 76% free throw shooter on the season.
I wonder, Wayne, if the substituting that Wichita State's been able to do as compared with St. John's will be a factor for them down the stretch. I wonder if their people will be pressure. I like to think that young men 19, 20, 21 years old just should not get tired playing in this NCAA tournament.
Guys like you get tired of watching them.
Thanks a lot. I was hoping you wouldn't say that.
I couldn't pass up the opportunity. You put yourself right out there on the list.
Well, just remember the game.
So that's the game situation. Wheat Shockers by 1 point inside 5.5 minutes to go in the game as Lou Carnesecca gets shifted out west to play in this one.
Well, you know, Bob, he's caught a lot of heat again from some of the media people about his team this year. I think, again, they've overachieved. I don't think that's a vintage St. John's basketball team. They win 20 games. I think they do a superb job. But for some unknown reason, guys take shots at Louis Carnesecca. On the other side, you got Eddie Fogler. Came out of New York City, headed down south, played for Dean Smith at the point guard slot, been an assistant there for many a year. This year becomes the head coach at Wichita State, doing a superb job. In fact, right behind Larry Finch, who I was, you know, privileged to see Memphis State play, and I made Finch my coach of the year as far as a rookie is concerned. Fogler is right there doing a tremendous job. And Big Sasha, I'll let you handle the last name. I just call him Big Sasha. And Sasha can really play. What about those yellow baggy uniforms? You look good in one of those uniforms.
Not the only one that would fit me at times.
No, you look good putting on black shoes, black sneakers, have your underwear hanging out of the yellow sneakers, because you played back in the 1920s. I saw you shoot that little two-hand
national poster child for Nerd Week.
Wow.
All right, thanks. And you could coach our team. You'd be the only guy who can handle us. We're standing by for Kentucky and Ohio State. Ball played considerably above that level, certainly. And the winner of that one moves on against Georgetown, keeping an eye on St. John's and Wichita State, and also Pitt and Marist. They're halfway through the first half in a tight game. We step aside for just a second. ESPN's coverage of the NCAA tournament tonight. Kentucky and Ohio State just a few moments away. Early in this preseason for Kentucky, Winston Bennett went down, needed the knee operation, redshirted the entire season. Still an 18-10 record for Kentucky, but in the Bluegrass State, in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, they expect a great deal from their 5 on the court, and maybe just a little bit of a disappointment in what they did this year in the SEC. Don't tell that to Ohio State. They know they're going up against a basketball legend tonight. Just ask Gary Williams.
They're still good. I mean, they wouldn't be where they are if they're not good. They played in a very good conference like we did this year, and they've beaten Alabama already this year, which is a great win. And, you know, they might not have the size that some of the past Kentucky teams have had, but, you know, they're still Kentucky.
I think Kentucky's, you know, it's got a great name in basketball. Always had great teams, and ever since I've grown up, I've always heard of Kentucky. And it's just a thrill to be able to be in the NCAA, let alone being able to go down there and play Kentucky and have a great chance to beat them.
Ohio State, as we've been saying, has never lost to Kentucky in an NCAA game. It has not been that banner year that Kentucky hopes for every year, but the Wildcats think this could be their time of the season.
You know, we're 18-10, which isn't bad, but it's not what Kentucky fans are used to. So we're going to try and, you know, we all have the attitude that we want to go in and do as well as we can in NCAA and go as far as we can to help, you know, redeem ourselves a little bit.
I'm very happy with the end result at this point. I don't believe we could have won many more games. You know, we have a lot of unpaid assistant coaches down here at the University of Kentucky, like they do at most places. But I think overall the fans were satisfied. They knew it was a down year for the Wildcats.
I think Eddie put it very aptly. I would say a couple 100,000 at least unpaid assistant coaches. Read that as just residents of the state who follow it and expect a lot. 18-10. And you frame it in terms of what you expect from Kentucky. 18-10, a lot of people will be very happy with it.
Well, they're certainly not going to be happy down at Kentucky at Rupp Arena, where basketball is like a religion. I spoke down there a couple months ago, and those fans really get excited. Hey, Bob, people had to beat up on Kentucky this year. When Eric Manuel comes in from out of Macomb, Georgia, outstanding wing player. Remember that name, LaRon Ellis, 6'10 and a half. His dad an assistant down at Southern Cal, but he decided to say, heck with the West, and I'm going out to the South. And he joins Eddie Sutton next year, along with a 7-footer by the name of John Pittman. They just got great talent coming in. They get Winston Bennett back. Good perimeter people, good defense, always gives them a chance to win. When you have those common denominators, the fact that you're going to play constant defense, it'll be interesting to see how they handle Dennis Hobson, who is certainly one of the great college scorers in the nation.
Number 2 scorer in the country, Dennis Hobson. We are now going to step aside for just a second and then get you out to Rosemont in a tie game with 2 minutes to go. Final minute of the Rosemont Horizon. Wichita State, St. John's wearing the white uniforms. Now 47 seconds. Let's get the game update from Wayne Larrivee and Bob Ortigal.
Wichita State and St. John's down the stretch.
St. John's does have a couple of timeouts left, Wayne. They're going to use one of them right here.
Luke Carnesecca and the St. John's Redmen have the ball with 32 seconds to go. We'll be back for the climax of tonight's Midwest Regional game after this.
32 seconds remaining in that game at 55 and 55. Let's go to Kentucky, and Ohio State will be getting back for the conclusion. They have just tipped things off in Atlanta.
Chasing down the loose first ball is Jay Burson. Curtis Wilson, the junior from Akron, will bring it up. Here's Burson. They try to go inside to Hobson. He comes up with it right back to Burson. Starts to move and whips it back outside. This is Francis, Jerry Francis, number 44. The center, John Anderson, along the baseline, looking for Wilson, but he cuts the end line and they turn it over. And we played 30 seconds of the opening half of play. Chapman throws it away. They scramble for it.
Possession arrow is not lit, but it should be Kentucky because Ohio State won the tap.
You're right. The possession arrow was not lit. Kentucky has it. There's the pressure you talked about right away, Dave.
And they'll vary. At that time it was full court. They'll drop off it, but they'll play it through quarter. And they're picking up man-to-man at half court.
78, the last championship season for the Wildcats, and they score first. That's Richard Madison, who averages 9 points a game, getting his first 2.
Well, if Kentucky can establish an inside game, that will be a big plus for them, John.
Here's Hobson. His first shot of the night. No good. It's short. The Buckeyes keep it. Francis along the baseline. Spins. Pumps. Puts it up. Missed the shot and drew the foul. And that foul is on Richard Madison.
First moments of that game, Kentucky and Ohio State. We leave the Omni. We take you to Chicago, to Rosemont. 32 seconds to go. The Redmen and the Wheat Shockers are tied. Wayne Larrivee and Bob Ortigal are there.
No shot clock factor here. And St. John's has possession at center court.
Out of that timeout, Mark Jackson spent a lot of time talking to number 14 for St. John's, Marco Baldi. Leads me to think that we could see a two-man play with Baldi moving up to set a pick for Jackson. He's such a big player. That'd be the guy you would want to set a pick. Wichita State does pick up in a man-to-man defense.
One could expect St. John's to go for one last shot. But they must get a good shot. So often you see teams run down the clock, Coach, and they don't get a good shot. 10 seconds, final 10 seconds. St. John's needs to get it away. Baldi for the win. Yes!
Radunovic went for the basketball, missed the steal. Baldi had it, moved into the free throw line for the jumper,
and was able to get it down. But, Wayne, I'm wondering if there's time left on the clock.
The scoreboard shows no time remaining. The officials are conferring at the scoring table, and they want 1 more second on the clock. There's the time, right-hand corner of your screen. Absolutely, 1 second left, no question about it. You saw Gary Cundiff, number 21.
Very good job by the NCAA officials. Look at Lou Carnesecca. I'll tell you what, for a guy 62 years old who's been around this game for years, did you see that vertical jump?
And he got off quick, too, didn't he, Coach?
Sasha Radunovic, Wayne, made a move for the basketball and did not get it. And that is what freed up the big guy, Baldi, to get the shot.
They did not get, though, Bob Ortigal. I don't believe they got the shot they necessarily wanted. They didn't get a bad shot, but it wasn't the way they had diagrammed it in the timeout, I'm sure.
No, I do not think they came out of that timeout intending to get the shot for Marco Baldi, but that's the way it ended up, and he handled it very well. He moved in, was not hesitant, went up in the air and shot the basketball and made the biggest basket of his life. However, we got a second left now, Wayne. A lot stranger things have happened. Look at Baldi right there.
Baldi from Italy, played on the CMAC team, an Italian club. Sat out both NCAA tourney games last year because of a ruling that he received financial support from the club team. But he is back, and he retained his eligibility this year, and he's been a positive impact for St. John's program. Wichita State, Sasha Radunovic will inbound. Baldi will defend on the inbound. 1 second to go. Radunovic lets it go. Jackson breaks it up. Krylov trying to save at the buzzer. The St. John's Redmen have defeated the Wichita State Shockers 57-55.
Incredible. With about 15 seconds to go, I turn to you and I say, do you think they know what they're doing? Mark Jackson, one of your best guards around the country, did not look very settled. Gave up his dribble. Marco Baldi, of all people, throws up the J from the outside. That's not a ball he shot, but
well, wait a minute. I see you're getting tough on one of my Paisan friends. Yeah. That shot felt better than a nice bowl of spaghetti from Marco Baldi. The 5th option out of the play. That just goes to show you sometimes. You design patterns, you design plays, you want to look like a genius, and the broken play. Normally, Baldi, you put him on a beach, he'd miss the ocean, and yet he makes that one count. And Carnesecca, I can hear him now at the press conference. Just the way I designed it.
St. John's will play the winner of the game between DePaul and Louisiana Tech. But now we're going to get you back with everything else resolved. Pitt and Marist late in the first half. You're back at Kentucky and Ohio State. John Sanders and Dave Gavitt.
Rex Chapman brings it up. Ohio State with a 2-point lead. 16:23 to play first half. And the pressure has definitely bothered Kentucky so far. Three-pointer, good. James Blackman hits the three-point shot.
It looks to me on the early going that if Kentucky can make this game play at the half court, it's going to be much to their advantage. For Ohio State, 94 feet is much to their advantage, but Kentucky will have to handle the full court press.
What a great feed. Wilson lays it home. Ohio State is 5 out of 7 so far shooting. They've gotten off to a great start. Kentucky shooting well. Ohio State has the early lead.
Wilson,
these two teams are really red hot right
Wilson
now.
With the backdoor cut that time, and Hobson showed you his versatility. Excellent pass.
Madison stripped from him, knocked out of bounds. It's saved. Block knocks it loose. Now Madison has it. They'll reset. Three-pointer tip. Beautiful follow tip, but it does not fall. Anderson committed the foul.
See the replay here at the other end. There's Hobson. He gets cut off. Now Wilson right down the middle without the ball. Great pass by Hobson. Little sleight of hand disguise for the layup. At the other end on the replay, John, Kentucky has been very successful in sending guards on the offensive board. They've got 3 in the game. Jay Burson's got a tough matchup with Blackman. He's given away a lot of size and a lot of strength.
And at the other end, he's been going so far against another fellow who's much taller than him, Rex Chapman. Both teams 5 out of 7 shooting in the early going.
Well, you could tell in the look in the eyes of Jerry Williams and Eddie Sutton when they came out here tonight that they knew this game was for real. This is a heck of a way to start the NCAA tournament with these two against each other.
Block in the lane, jumper, short. Rebounded by Tony White, the first substitution of the ball game. White into the Ohio State lineup. Down low, Hobson knocked away from him. Ohio State will keep it.
Good pass by Wilson. Hobson shouldn't have brought it down that time.
Great first half put together here by Georgia Southern. They're down by 1, 33-32. 3:31 to go in the half. They've led most of the first half, and there's a steal. The Eagles a chance to get the lead back. They led most of this first half. Syracuse hit them with a 12-0 run to go ahead, but now Forrest lays it in, and the Eagles are back up by 1.
Well, Georgia Southern is back into their aggressive style of play. The key for them in this first half is that they came out of the chute quickly, and they believe they can play with the Orangemen, and they're doing it.
Douglas got free again, and there's a great block out of bounds. J.J. Jones coming over to send it into the cheerleaders.
That got the Southern bench up off of its feet. They jumped up out of their chairs on this one. Sherman Douglas has been everywhere in this first half, but J.J. Jones rejects that one.
And Howard Trish just picked up his third foul, trying to crash the offensive board.
Syracuse with a good run to take the lead. Georgia Southern has not folded. They're hanging tough in front of 32,000. You're back in Atlanta. The game between Ohio State and Kentucky. John Sanders and Dave Gavitt on this game. Kentucky in the white, Ohio State in the red. Let's get an update.
Kentucky by 4 here in the Omni in Atlanta, 36-32. Locke getting his second basket of the night. This is Hobson, second leading scorer in the nation. He has 6 points. James and scores, he's fouled.
And it had been a while since they've been able to put the ball in Dennis Hobson's hands where he could do something. Eddie Sutton had brought Paul Andrews in off the bench, a little more physical. And he had done a good job of keeping it away from him. But here you see Hobson with a great body control. Here's the second look. Pump fake. He gets Andrews up and rides through him. Excellent.
He knew he'd been fouled. All he had to do was hang and try to score. Back in is Davender as Hobson goes to the line. Over 80%.
Big Ten Player of the Year. What an honor that is in a year when the Big Ten has been so strong. So many great players, so many great teams. A real credit to Dennis Hobson, Big Ten Player of the Year. He'll get a rest.
Hobson comes out. Back in the lineup again is Tony White. His second time on the floor this evening. 3 minutes and 7 seconds remaining first half.
Hobson has 2 personal fouls, and I'm sure that Williams would like to not see the third come before halftime.
A 1-point lead for Kentucky. Time remaining first half. Block way outside to Chapman. Andrews has seen a lot of playing time here in the first half. Chapman misses. White rebounds for Ohio State. And a chance now for the Buckeyes from the Big Ten to take the lead. Knocked away from Wilson. Locke feeding Davender. He's all alone. Anderson will try to catch him and can't. 7 points for Ed Davender. 3-point lead, the Wildcats over the Buckeyes. 2:15 to play first half. Here's Anderson. Francis backs in. Locke blocked it. Good job by Rob Locke.
Rob Locke becoming a real defensive factor the last 2 trips now. You see the replay on the one prior to this. Locke gets involved in this, comes across, picks off the loose one, feeds Davender for the breakaway.
And it was Davender who originally stripped the ball on that play.
Alley-oop to Hobson off the inbounds. Back to 1.
And 11 points for Dennis Hobson here in the first half with 1:53 to play. Andrews to Davender. Now it's a 3-on-2.
We have got a couple of great games going. Ohio State leading Kentucky 42-40. In just a second, we'll be updating you on the halftime score with Syracuse and Georgia Southern. Orangemen having, again, problems playing on the home court. Late word just in. Joe Wolf will not be playing tomorrow for the Tar Heels of North Carolina in their second-round game against Michigan. Also, Curtis Hunter is very doubtful for that game. Wolf today in a closed practice stick spraining his ankle. Hunter has problems also with his wrist. So right now going in, it's going to be a tough game. You saw what Michigan did to Navy last night. Dean Smith is 3 deep on the depth chart.
Bob, that's the one advantage I thought that North Carolina had over Michigan was their front court play, especially at the position where Wolf is. Wolf's a versatile performer. He's the one guy they cannot afford to lose. He gave them a plus on that side of the ledger against Michigan, which is a perimeter-oriented basketball team. That's going to be a war. I'll tell you something. North Carolina is in for an absolute struggle with Michigan. Michigan's very loose, very relaxed, and they're going to have to shut down the three-point shot of guard Thompson.
That is tomorrow. The games happening right now are very tight. Ohio State leads it by a deuce. We'll have a score update from Syracuse as we continue the NCAA tournament tonight. Reports from around the country. The Cats are down by a deuce. Just about out of time. We have had our usual 11.5 hours yesterday, 11.5 hours today of coverage. First round is almost complete.
Well, you know, Robert, you've been slam-jam-bamming it with the best. Now we're going to go to the B&B boys, Mr. Brando and Mr. Berman. Brando's going to try to take it to the lane, and Berman's going to say, get it out of here, Brando. It's shot blocking time. Hey, a pleasure. Really, seriously. Yeah. Happy birthday. 8 beautiful years working with you. Fun. I hope we get 9.
Right, I hope so, too. Who knows?
I know.
We continue to take a look at the tournament. We'll see you next Thursday and Friday with the regional semifinal action. For John Saunders and Dick Vitale, I'm Bob Lee. We sign off with our usual salute to the teams moving ahead in the tournament.
Lay it in. Ohio State led 42-40 at the half. Second half, Hobson with a good inside position. Rebounds. Puts it up and in. The Buckeyes lead 50-44. Later, Burson looking for the main man, Hobson. Puts it in. Hobson in the 30-point range tonight. Ohio State up by 12 here. Burson to Curtis Wilson. To Hobson. Hobson with the circus move, and it goes. The Buckeyes go on to cruise in the second half, winning over Kentucky tonight. The game seen on ESPN just a few moments ago, 91-77. And who will they play in the next round? Well, Ohio State has the task of facing Georgetown, who has now won 12 straight games. The Bison of Bucknell, they were in there for about midway through the first half, but then too much for Georgetown. They win it 75-53. Reggie Williams had 21 points. So Georgetown faces Ohio State Sunday.
Some noise in the Midwest today. Some coaches calling the Elmer Gantry of hoops. Many claim he's the Billy Graham of intercollegiate athletics. But Dale Brown's LSU Tigers are again on a March mission, it appears. Remember last year's Cinderella story in the Final Four? Well, Bobby Crimmins does. His Georgia team lost last year in the regionals, and he got a case of deja vu today at the Rosemont Horizon. And Darryl Joe had a career high, 28 points. Tigers built a 14-point lead. The Yellow Jackets come roaring back. Dalrymple misses. Tom Hammond's there to follow, and Tech to within 1. Bobby Crimmins says, stay sharp, guys. Darryl Joe kept lighting it up, though. 15 first-half points. They came on three-pointers. He had 7 for the game, 40-34 Tigers. Lucky for Tech, they had an outside shooter as well, Craig Neal. Noodles cuts it to 3 by intermission. Then in the second half, the Tigers extended their lead. Oliver Brown misses. Jose, can you see Vargas, to borrow a phrase from Chris Berman, puts it 3. Yeah, I thought you would. Tigers by 12, and Darryl Joe keeps on keeping on, and Dale feels it. You can tell Daddy Dale feels this victory coming through. Then later, Georgia Tech rallies to come back. Dalrymple from outside, Brian Oliver from outside, Craig Neal dishing inside, Tommy Hammonds. It won't go, but Farrell is there to follow. Tech to within 4 with 23 seconds left, but Darrell Joe, in prophetic fashion, would put this one to end. It was the kind iron for Dale Brown today. LSU shooting better than 53% for the game. They win it 83-79. Darrell Joe with 28 points, and he tied a tournament record with 7 3-pointers from the floor, and LSU had 9 total for the game, and they will advance to take on Temple, because the Owls behind Nate Blackwell today. He is suffering from flu, but we should all be so sick. He had 23 points. Temple wins the game by a final score of 75-56. The Wheat Shockers of Wichita State are fresh off probation this year with a new head coach. Former Dean Smith assistant Eddie Fogler led his team to the Missouri Valley Conference tournament title, and they met St. John's tonight in the first round of the Midwest. That one also in Chicago, and it was a very good game. Watch now as you look down underneath, and Radunovic is able to put it in for Wichita State. The Shockers are on a roll. Wichita State again inside, but Matt Bruss there to make the steal. He feeds Willie Glass. He goes all the way in for the Thunder Jam, and St. John's is trailing by 6 at this point. Wheat Shockers fight back, though. Grayer is stripped this time, pickpocketed by Mark Jackson, and Action Jackson will go to the baseline for the deuce. St. John's cuts it to 4. Eddie Fogler feels that his team may be in a bit of trouble right now, and trouble they were in. Matt Bruss looks, dishes to Willie Glass. Glass had 18 points for the game. Coming down to cases now, though. The three-point play helping Wichita State. Prelo with that one. But down the stretch, only seconds remaining. Marco Baldi had them singing a cappella at Queens. And Lucky Louie had the sweater on from a year ago. And St. John's goes on to win this game by a final score of 57-55. Elsewhere in the Midwest, DePaul with that home court advantage, using it to the fullest against Louisiana Tech.
You work with, we come after Vital, and it's definitely, it's catching. Guess what? When we come back, we have...
Hopeful of the dance to continue on to New Orleans, but the former North Carolina State coach had other ideas. Stay with us.
The Carrier Dome before beating Georgia Southern in the first round and in the opening round games at the Carrier Dome in Syracuse. Florida, Purdue, Western Kentucky, and Syracuse. You're looking at our bracket in Tucson, Arizona, and in Syracuse. It was Florida ruining Jimmy Valvano's Cinderella trip again as Florida beat North Carolina State. Purdue of the Big Ten wins, and Western Kentucky defeated West Virginia. So that's the story in one half of the bracket in the East region, where Syracuse advanced in the score you just saw. The other bracket was in Charlotte, North Carolina. 8-7 Tulsa leading, and so far the tempo would have to favor Tulsa, Tom.
Absolutely, but that doesn't concern Billy Tubbs too much in the first half. He's really more concerned with tempo the second half.
Ricky Grace, the point guard. McAllister.
Because they could also get the ball into Dwayne Chintis, the big guy. Freshman, put it up and in. And Florida, Norman Sloan beats his old school, NC State, by the score of 82-70. Maxwell 28, Moten 19 out of that potent backcourt. Florida moving on against the winner of the Northeastern Purdue game. In the first half of that one, Reggie Lewis, who would end this game as the 9th leading scorer in Division I history in college hoop, gets the pass to Derek Lewis. The Lewis fellows put Northeastern up by 1. But Doug Lee played a big game for Purdue from three-point land, and I mean NBA three-point land. He hits it. Purdue leads 44-41 at the half. Very physical game. Watch this pick. Jeff Arnold, boom, goes Derek Lewis, runs into the pick. Lewis goes down hard, gets up and guts it back into the game. But Doug Lee wasn't only shooting for outside. Here he is, tries once, gets the board again, puts it up and in. Purdue by 7. Boilermakers work the ball all around on this afternoon. Everett Stevens to Troy Lewis, to Doug Lee with the jam. 5 guys in double figures, led by Lee with 29, as Purdue beats Northeastern 104-95. So Purdue and Florida in what should be an entertaining second-round game Sunday in Syracuse.
The Jimmy Boeheim Invitational got underway, but that's Dickie V's line, isn't it? Well, I lead ESPN in steals tonight. What I really mean is the East Regionals at the Carrier Dome included a pick-em matchup, Western Kentucky and West Virginia. Pretty good basketball game all the way through. Brett McNeil struggles through the defense, gets it to Brian Asbury. He gets the 2 and the foul, Western by 6. Then the Mountaineers caught up. Darryl Prue with the nice cue call. Gail Catlett's team leading by 3 at the half. Then in the second half, the lead changes 4 times, a couple of ties as well. Tellis Frank makes a call inside the lane. And we're tied at 62. Just 3 seconds left. Watch coming up shortly here. J.J. Crawl brings his West Virginia Stems crawling back into this one, ties it at 62. But watch this play. Watch this play underneath the hoop. Where's the defense? I mean, it's a Matador D. Buzzer beater. Kennard Johnson puts it through, and Western Kentucky wins it. Gail Catlett didn't draw it up that way, folks. The final score, 64-62. Tellis Frank had 17 points, and Syracuse, that's right, the Orangemen and Georgia Southern playing, and Jimmy Boeheim had it pretty difficult in his first game at home. 79-73, Syracuse with the victory. Now, when we come back, we've got more on the growing problems for SMU in Dallas. And
not quite as quick as his brother Brian let that offensive rebound happen.
Dave Seeger, a 6'6 junior, number 44, is coming to the ball game. Good defensive player, and he couldn't do anything with Don Royster, who was sandwiched by 2 Sooners and scored to give the Hurricane the lead again.
Excellent move down there by Royster.
Royster's the only 50% shooter on the Tulsa team. Seeger for 3 outside. He's tried a lot more three-point shots than the conventional shots this year. Not that time.
Very good outside shooter, three-point shooter, Dave Seeger.
43%, but he's 0 for 1 in this one. And now Tulsa with the ball and a 15-13 lead. David Moss is guarded by Darrell Kennedy. Good matchup. Moss and Moore, the M&M boys for Tulsa. Good fake by Tracy Moore. Battle for the rebound, and it's Darrell Kennedy. The best 6'5" offensive rebounder in the country, they say, and they get it to Seeger.
Again launches the three-pointer, 86-85 Miners. Then Jackson comes back, makes the steal from McMillan, takes it all the way to the hoop. The bank open late on the coast for the Miners from El Paso. They go on to win this one by a final score of 98-91. Hernell Jeep Jackson had 23 points, and they'll get Iowa on Sunday because the Hawkeyes, they just really throttled Santa Clara, 99-76. Kevin Gamble didn't have to gamble at all. 18 points he had in the game. Roy Marble had 16 to lead the Hawkeyes out of the Big Ten. Marist and Pittsburgh, another blowout. This time the Big East looking sharp, 93-68 the final there. And on the West Coast, Tulsa and Oklahoma, Battle of Oklahoma, a real grudge match out on the West Coast in the Western Regional. And Oklahoma, some people believe, may go all the way to the final dance on Bourbon Street.